Good evening and welcome to the Allegheny Clarion Valley School District Board of Education workshop and voting meeting. This evening is our first virtual meeting that we've had here at AC Valley. I'd like to start off by thanking our technology department, especially Aaron Howe. He did a lot of work, and the school board members for practicing before we get into the meeting. We are practicing social distancing down here at the district. We do have Tammy Thompson, Jen Fite, myself, Emmy Faust, Mark Milford, Mark Graff, and Aaron Howe in the library. We are spread out. That's why we don't have our mask on. The cleaning crew was in and cleaned the library before we came in here as well. So without further ado, we will move right into the agenda. Since we don't have anybody down under public participation or presentations at this time, I'll move straight into the agenda. With no field trips or conferences on the consent agenda, we don't have anything to vote on. We'll be moving directly into finance and purchase. And we'll come back during the voting meeting to touch on the bills that we'll be paying, but a bulk of the meeting will be discussing the 2021 budget. But nevertheless, there are other items in the agenda that we do want to address. At this time, we'd like to hear from Grant Grasha. He's going to present the cafeteria report. Grant?
How's everybody doing? So I had Tammy go ahead and forward you all my cafeteria report for April of 2020. And obviously with us closing on the 13th of February in March, we were down about 4,768 meals versus last year. We took in $11,052.22 in federal funds and $699 in state funds. But our student participation was still at an 86.8% because we were still feeding our kids up to the 13th. So our participation actually had gone up a little bit in March. So when we calculated our meals by operating days, our participation actually had gone up about 3%. And then we received funds from Clarion University through Backpacks for Success. And what we did with those funds, we dispersed those funds out to the community, to Little It, Bob's, White's, and the Allegheny Grill, since they've been providing hot meals for our students since the closure on March 13th. So I followed up with them this week to make sure that they received those funds and make sure they were using them for the kids, and they said that they were, and they appreciated that donation as well. Does anybody else have any questions for me concerning my reporting for March?
Grant, can you provide the school board with information about the free and reduced lunch program and the change in our status?
Yes, so PD did send out notification that all districts can provide one open site inside the district if they didn't meet the 50% guideline. So we would still have to fill out the waiver and go through the waiver process. However, before we had to meet that 50% for the seamless summer option or the summer food service program that they linked to the COVID-19 pandemic to provide meals to students. So before we had to directly target our free kids, but now we can target the free and reduced in the community if we decided we wanted to start a food service program.
Thanks, Grant. Are there any questions for Grant at this time?
Grant, if we were to do this, what does that look like for us?
So if we started that, we would have about a 2-week waiting period. I would have to get our trucks realigned because we weren't receiving trucks anymore since March. So I did reach out to them and they said that they would get us back on a delivery schedule, but we're looking at about 2 weeks to do so by the time we would get a truck in and get our supplies in. And then we would have to bring the employees in. We'd have to do a deep clean in both the kitchens because we haven't used them since we shut down. So we'd have to get both facilities cleaned, but then figure out which site we would want to use. Then we would have to see what shortages US Food's having at this time, because they did send out a memo that they're having a shortage in paper products. So we'd have to start looking to see where we could get supplies from and where we can realign our deliveries so that we could get it up and running. Once you start the summer food service program or seamless summer option, it's generally a program that you do for one entire review year. So it would be 5 years. So because we just had a review last year. So it's a program that we have to do for 5 years. We would be reviewed on that program. But we would have to realign the employee contracts and the CAF because they're only 180 work days. So they'd be working 220 days a year versus 180.
So if we were to take this on, then we would, because we weren't, let me back up and say, because we were not eligible for it before, but the requirement is that if we start to do that, we do it for a whole review period. Does that then mean that they're going to consider us for this review period and we would get reimbursed for it? Or would we only get reimbursed for this year?
So we'd get reimbursed for this year because they're giving everybody the free rate for every meal that's provided for a student. So what would happen is, depends on what the rates are. They fluctuate every year based off free and reduced and what the national average is. So we would get full reimbursement for every student that we did serve. But we would be locked into the seamless summer option or summer food service program after we started it, because this is a branch of that program. So we would be able to do this either through the end of the educational year or up till June 30th. Like we would pick a date and decide when we wanted to do this too. But anytime that we provide a meal for any student through the school, we would receive reimbursement for those students.
So Grant, you're saying that we have to do this then for 5 years? Is that what you said?
So that would be our review period. Yes. So like once you get into seamless summer option or summer food service programming, what would happen is we would do that program for however many years a review period would be. So if we continue doing it after this year, we would be locked into it for 5 years because we would do a 5-year admin review period. Some schools are 3, some are 5, some are 2. It just depends on procurement and administrative reviews, which is what we talked about in our PRFSD meeting, is once we get into these programs, if we're going to be able to get out of them or just do them for COVID-19. So it could be a 5-year program. It could be just up till June 30th. It would depend on when they would decide, because it's a brand new program. So they really don't even know. They haven't given us strict answers on that, but we could be locked into that for 5 years, or we could be locked into it for till June 30th, whenever we decided to do it. So I just wanted to put that out there as well, that we could continue to have to do this once we start it and we receive funding from them.
So would we get funding each year then that they would pay for it in the summer?
Yeah, so we would receive, like we would have to do the seamless summer option application every year. We would send it back in, see if we meet the requirements for that as well. So we would have to fill the application out every year. And then we receive the highest dollar amount, which is like $5.29 a day if you provide breakfast and lunch for each student that you provide breakfast and lunch for.
So we could not qualify, and meaning we wouldn't have to do it every year for 5 years.
Correct. But if we did
Okay.
qualify every year after this, we would continue to do it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Grant? Okay, thank you, Grant.
You're welcome.
Moving on down through the agenda, we will be spending some time on letter I and J. We'll be discussing the fund balance and the 2021 budget. And at this time, Aaron, can I get the shared screen? Okay, as we all know, our unique designation is the fact that we're in the middle of 4 different counties, and that's the current real estate mills that we have right now. Armstrong is at 32.99, Butler is at 66.14, Clarence at 58.16, and Venanga is at 13.05. I just pulled out a piece of the budget timeline. In March and April, the business office was very busy creating the budget. Emmy's put a lot of time and effort into it. April 20th, we have the preliminary budget in front of the school board this evening. And then May 18th is our deadline for the adoption of the proposed final budget. And we will then transfer that onto the PDE 2028 and have it submitted and out for the public for inspection for 30 days. On June 18th, we will have a school board meeting, and that's when we'll adopt the final budget. By June 30th, according to school law, we will have it submitted to the Pennsylvania Department of Education. Just an enrollment by the years. I started in the 06-07 school year. That's why I have numbers the whole way back. And you can see the decline, and we had a couple years where we added some students. But as of March 2020, we're at 631 students. We have 1 superintendent, 2 building principals, 1 business manager. We are anticipating hiring on an assistant business manager for 1 year to transition. We have 60 teachers, 15 aides. We have 2 title aides and 6 full-time aides, along with 7 part-time child-specific aides. We have 2 school nurses, 1 in each building, an athletic director, an athletic trainer, 2 counselors, an intervention specialist at the elementary, 2 librarians, 1 at each building, 2 technology technicians, and we have 2 maintenance. We do have 1 maintenance staff that we split between technology and maintenance, as you can see. Custodians, we have 8 full-time and 3 part-time. We consulted most of the year for school psychologist services, but we're hoping to have a full-time school psychologist hired for the 2021 school year. In addition, we consulted out our special education director. We have Tim Dadish here for 21 hours per week. We do have a social worker 2 days a week coming down from the IU staff. We have 2 part-time study hall monitors, an attendance officer, 5.3 secretaries, cafeteria supervisor, cafeteria staff. We have 1 full-time and 9 part-time, and of course, our AC Valley School Police. Now, some of the changes in the budget that I just wanted to make note to the school board is our grant money that we're expecting for the state. Last year, it was at 60 million, and they're projecting it down to be 15 million. For PCCD, we will have 30,000 coming in for the 2021 school year. It'll be used for benefits and salary, and we had 25,000 the year prior from PCCD. Safe Schools right now, we're not sure. We haven't heard anything about that grant, but if it's available, I will be writing it. We do have the salary, benefits, and associated costs for an assistant business manager in the budget. We have up at the high school some additional PBIS cost. Pennsylvania retirement system, it went up to 34.51 matching contribution. And our healthcare went up just over 5%. That number is going to be fluctuating between April and May. We do have continued increase in IU6 billing associated with special education costs, and the projected number of students going up at the Career Center is going to cost just over $400,000. We are still concerned about cyber and charter school cost. We're not sure about state revenue. That's yet to be determined. Federal revenue and then local taxes are still subject at this time. So just an overview of some of the larger line items. That's the staffing. That's compared from the current year into the 2021 school year. You'll see the overall salary, Social Security, retirement, unemployment, workman's comp. It adds up. We're projecting $8,826,627 in staffing, and that's an increase of $298,636 over last year. In addition to that, the health-related benefits are as follows. There's a comparison from the current year into the 2021 year with hospitalization, dental, vision, life, and disability. And as you can see, it's just over $2 million with roughly a $100,000 increase. The school board always likes to know how the cafeteria is doing, and that's just some numbers that we've had over the course of the years. As you can see, we're operating in a loss each year. Grant's doing a great job, but we are having more kids eating, which is costing more money. Salary and benefits, we did employ 2 additional cafeteria workers as well. And I'm not sure, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Just make sure if you're not talking, you have your mic on mute at this time as well. And then moving into the fund balance. You could see at the beginning of the 2019-20 school year, we have a fund balance of $5,290,379. In that fund balance, we are estimating a shortfall for the 19-20 school year of $1,064,044. Our anticipated PSERS contribution would be $83,876. Healthcare of roughly $108,771, and a projected rough increase of salaries will be 2.5%, and that would be a cost of $209,043. So it's a projection at this particular time, but if we were to pull those numbers out of the fund balance, as you can see with the numbers in front of you, the fund balance will be at $3,824,645. So Emmy will be going into great detail with the revenues, our expenditures, as well as the fund balance. But just the rough numbers that we have in front of you right now are expected revenues, $14,875,465. Projected expenditures are $16,567,869. And since we are in 4 counties, we can't keep the taxes the same, but as Emmy recalculates it, we could try to keep the dollar the same amount as the 19-20 school year. Our shortfall would be $1,692,404. If we do raise taxes to the index, and it's stated right there, it's 3.6%, the shortfall would be $1,645,379. So as we transition from my PowerPoint into Emmy's presentation, are there any questions from the school board for me about the budget at this time? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and transfer over to Emmy.
And then I come down here.
Yep, you're good. Click down here and click on the
Right
email,
there.
and then double click on your budget.
Okay.
Okay, you're on.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah.
Good evening. I hope that everybody's staying strong and staying safe. We're going to first start out with the fund balance, which is item I. And the fund balance is the difference between the current assets and the current liabilities in the governmental fund on June 30th. So if you, Gadsby 54, it is recommended that a school district designates a portion of their fund balance to cover future expenses. So every year after our auditor presents our audit in December, we review and make the necessary changes to our fund balance. These changes must be supported by actual anticipated expenses. So if you look at item I, we started out at the end of June 30th, 2018-19 at $5,290,379 in our fund balance. So that is the beginning balance for the 2019-2020 school year. We designate into 3 categories. The first one is an assigned fund balance, and that's the funds that are intended for a particular purpose. So we started out with the beginning balance of that. We take out of that $5,290,379, we designated $3,558,879 is the beginning of the assigned fund balance. And then the 2019-2020 estimated budget shortfall for this budget was $1,064,044. We're going to designate the increase to the Pennsylvania State Employees Retirement System, which went up to 34.51%, which is an increase of 0.22%. And that dollar amount of the increase over last year's would be $83,876. There's an increase of 5.5% increase in the healthcare benefits, which is $108,771. And then for the additional staff and the increase of 2.5 to the staff comes to $209,043. So you take your $3,558,879, subtract those 4 Categories out, we have an assigned fund balance of $2,093,145. In the unassigned fund balance, that is the funds to run the business. So according to policy 620, and if you go to the attached policy 620, how do I flip that around now, Aaron?
That rotate button right to your right beside the plus sign.
Right beside the plus sign. I had it here earlier. Oh, down here. Okay, sorry. Okay, there we go. So for the Board of Education shall not approve any increase in real property taxes unless it has adopted a budget that includes an estimated ending unreserved undesignated fund balance, which is the unassigned, less than or equal to the specified percentage of its total budget expenditures. So our total budget expenditures for the 2021 or for the 2019-2020 budget expenditures were $16,122,370. It falls into the category of the $16 million to $16,999, which we're allowed to designate 9.5% of that and put that in an unassigned fund balance. So that would be $1,531,625. And so we transferred into the unassigned $1,531,500. Take you back to this. Oh, got this. Okay, and then we also put in there non-spendable fund balance, which is on the books for inventory of $200,000. So you add the three of those up, and our estimated fund balance would end at $3,824,645. And then also I've added the different increases, decreases to the fund balance over the last 8 years. And you can see the increases and decreases there. Is there any questions pertaining to the designating of the fund balance? Okay, then we will go on to our budget. Okay, so we start out with item J, and it is the proposed revenue budgets. And the first budget that we're going to, the revenue that we're going to look at is trying to keep it close to the dollar amount that we proposed for the 2019-2020 budget. So we'll just go down through the revenue here. The 6,000 category is all our local, and that's our real estate, our EIT, all our taxes. So you can see there on this current real estate taxes, we're looking at $2,999,850. The public utility tax is your PERTA tax, and we're looking at around $3,940. We have payments in lieu of current taxes. That is a boat and fishing commission tax that we get. Then we have the current per capita tax is $679. A $679 is a $5 per capita tax, which is authorized under the PA School Code. We have a Act 511, which is a per capita tax, and that is a flat $5 tax. The area that the current Act 511 earned income tax, you can see a big drop there. And the reason for that is because with the economy and no one working, that money is the earned income tax that we receive in, and we normally receive around $500,000. So we drop that down to about half. We will be constantly looking at that. I have contacted Keystone Collection to kind of help project a dollar amount for us, and they hope to get back to the school districts before we do our budget. So then we have the Act 511 real estate tax transfers. That's if you're selling your home, and that's around the amount that we have received in the past, although, again, we don't know how many homes are going to be being sold. Delinquent real estate tax, that, well, we're keeping the same as the prior year. We can just go down. We have the admissions for the gate receipts. We're looking at around 13,500. Liquid fuel tax, that's the tax that we get for the gasoline that we use here for our vehicles. The IDEA pass-through, that's from the IU for the IDEA. Okay, then we have the receipts for WPCC, and that is for the detention center. The detention center is located in our school district. Our school district does the billing for the detention center. We bill all the home school districts that have children or students up in the detention center. The detention center gets 95% of the money that we receive in. The school district receives 5% of that. So you can see the receipts, we're looking at around $736,570. And then if you go down to the commission for the detention center, the school district would get about 5%, which is $38,767. We have reimbursement for a special ed supervisor. We have a supervisor at the detention center, and we bill the home school districts for that service. Then we go down into the, so our local revenue, we're looking at $4,677,390. And you can see that is down from the previous year. The 7,000 is the revenue that we received from the state. So we receive basic ed. We're looking at $6,016,931. Tuition for children, section 1305 and 1306. A 1305 is foster, and a 1306 is non-residential in a facility. Then we have our special ed costs, that revenue that we received, $697,731. The pupil transportation of $903,581. Non-public, $16,940. We bill for the medical and the dental service of, receive about $12,200 for that. The state property tax reduction, we're looking at receiving around $279,836. That money I take then, and all the approved homestead and farmsteads, that money goes out to them. The PCCD grant is the police grant, and we're looking to get $25,000 for that. And as David stated, it's Safe School, we haven't seen anything on it yet. Ready to Learn block grant, that we are to receive the exact same amount that we received this school year, $151,489. That is used for kindergarten, and we split that up over a couple teachers' salary and benefits. The first program, which is housed here at AC Valley, their budget is $117,898. The state share of Social Security, we pay out the Social Security. The state pays us about 50% back. Same with the retirement. We pay the retirement. The state pays us back more than about 50%, or even a little higher than 50%. So we're looking at state revenue of $9,717,766. The 8,000 category is the revenue that we are to receive from the federal government for the grants that we have. We have no information on those at all. We're booking right now exactly what we received this school year. The Title I program, the Title I delinquent. The Title I delinquent is the money that goes to the detention center. They send in their invoices to us for salaries and benefits. That's a pass-through. We pay for those bills. Title 2A improvements, Title 4A, school-based access for the Medicare reimbursement. We took that down $2,000 to $18,000. And then the medical assistance admin, we kept it $10,000. That's a federal revenue total of $480,309, which with the local, the state, and the federal, we're looking at $14,875,465. Is there any questions on the revenue?
Emmy, I do have a couple questions that I
Okay.
just want to clarify. Back under our local sources,
Okay.
the receipts for the detention center, that's like what, 60,000 lower or so? And what made you decide to put that much lower?
We are basing that off the number of students that were at the detention center for this school year. Last year's budget was based off the year prior. There were more kids there. Philadelphia hasn't been sending children there, so it keeps dropping. So we're basing it off this year's. Okay.
All right, my next question is under the reimbursement for the special ed supervisor, why is that down as much?
That is down because we were going through an audit at the detention center in special ed, and for this 1920, so we had her there 2 days a week. This year, we're only going 1 day a week.
That's it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, so then I just want to kind of show you how the mills are set. So if you see, this is the actual 2028 page that's in the budget. And I did just a snapshot of it. It needs tweaked because there's still information that needs to be put out here. But it starts out with the 2019-20 data, which is your assessed values and your real estate millage. That was the assessed values that I received from the county, from each county, and then the mills that were set for this past 1920 school year. Then it comes down and the state puts in the state tax equalization board market values. And you can see those going across for the county. And then I put in the new assessed values that I've received this year from the counties. Then it goes down and the state rebalances using the figures to equalize the mills, because with being in 4 counties, the mills have to be equalized. So the state does that before we even begin putting our budget together to calculate the mills. So you can see here, Armstrong County remained the same if you look at these 2 areas. And then Butler County ended up going up. Clarion stayed the same. Venango County went up. So there's always like 2 that go up, 2 that stays the same, or maybe a couple go down, a couple stay the same. So in here then, when I put the dollar amount that I tried to come back to, and I put that dollar amount in here, it was $3,689,495. It calculates the real estate tax out for me. So by trying to keep it at the same, Armstrong would go from 3278, so you can see it went down. Butler's 68.07. Clarion would go to 58.83, and Venango would go to 13.86. It takes the dollar amount, the $3,689,000. It calculates out what I expect to get from each county. And then because then you take off the $279,000 that we plan to get for the homestead farmsteads. It balances out to 3,406,921. And then because we collected at 88%, it takes 88%. And this is the dollar amount then that as you will see, that's the first part of the revenue, the 2,999,850. The next page, all I look at on this page is I want to make sure that I am within the index in each county. And so I am. It says, yes, you are, yes, you are, yes, you are. This information isn't filled in yet. We don't have the homestead farmstead information yet, and that's to be certified May 1st, so we'll be getting that. And then this is just recaps. It tells you the assessed value, what your real estate mills were, what the tax levy will generate, takes off the homestead farmstead, gives you the dollar amount that is your real estate tax, and then they take that times the 88% that we collected at, shows you the 2,999,850. And then the next page, it just says that we are in the index. Within the index, it tells the percentage of the changes. Is there any questions on any of that? Okay, so then we'll go into the revenue going to the index of 3.6%. So the only thing that changes on that is the current real estate. It went up to 3,046,875. And everything else remained the same. So we won't go down through that. And again, you'll see that the homestead farmstead amount. And by doing that, taking it to 3.6%, our revenue would be 14,922,490. And then again, it just showing how that all calculates out, going to the 3.6. The millage here would be Armstrong at 33.2. That's pretty small. 28, 26, 26. And then 69.06, 56.84, and 14.06. On this page, we look to make sure that we're within the index, which we are. And this just goes over what we just went through, and there's the dollar amount that I put on for the revenue for the real estate. And it says, yes, we're within. So is there any questions on?
Emmy, I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
Anyways, today in Harrisburg, we do have House Bill 976. And that's a proposal about freezing real estate tax. So it may be, something that could impact our budget. I haven't heard whether it was passed or not, and whether it went over to the governor's office, but that's something for the school board to consider as well.
Absolutely. So now we're going to go into the proposed expenditure budget. So I highlighted in blue just different areas that have a change from change or something that I just want to bring to your attention. So the first part is the Ready to Learn grant. And you saw back there, we were to receive $151,489. I just show you where we put that money. We put it in, like, these are our kindergarten. I think we have one teacher salary, and then we broke it into two teachers' benefits. And that will use up the money that we get for the Ready to Learn grant. You'll see there's all the first part is your instructional. So you'll see there, we put $440 in for a PBIS sub for science, which is new. We did highlight the PBIS information that has been added to the budget this year. And then we also highlighted our intervention specialists, because you can see, like last year we had zeros in this category. It's because we had him over in the learning support area group. We're bringing him over into the instructional group. So that is why we highlighted, because you may see that and kind of wonder what that was about. So we highlighted all his area. Okay, so here we've added 5,000 PBIS for student field trips. And then we have our tuition for the cyber education. We budgeted for 8 elementary students at a total of $175,795. And we budgeted for 13 high school students to $321,726. PBIS $800 for supplies. Okay, so the Title I delinquent, this is the dollar amount that we get for the title, out of the title money. We get to keep 5% of that money. So I break down just, they spend it on salaries and their benefits, and then some in supplies. There's a PBIS for two subs. Down here we have the IU special education contract, and that is with the IU, Riverview IU. They project $643,492. We have 18 students. We also had the Clarion County nurse there. We had budgeted for one for this school year. We do not have to budget for one next school year. We're looking at PBIS for one gifted substitute. Then we have down at the elementary APS and PRRI, we budgeted for 3 elementary students at Glade Run, a total of $97,918. We projected 25 students at the detention center, and that's $530,055. And then we just put an extra person in. We designated to the high school. It could go elementary or high school. In case we had to send another one to Glade Run, it'd be $32,639. Those two categories add up to $660,612. We have PBIS, another sub for the home ec department. Then we have the tuition for the Clarion County Career Center. They projected $404,422, a total of 46 students. In the 1400 category, we have the adjudicated court placed, and that too is the detention center. That's in the red area of, when we're looking at 30 students there, $245,282. Next area is the psychologist. You can see the difference that we had for this school year and what we're projecting for the next school year. And then also tuition for the psychologist. PBIS for professional education, 3,224. For the assistant business manager that plan to hire for 1 year, dollar amounts. And then we have our school police officers and the dollar amount that we plan to spend there. And we highlighted that so that you can see the total amount there versus what we're looking for revenue of 25,000. Transportation, we base that off the state index of 6.046, and that's 1,043,881. That's for public. We put in $5,000 for an after-school program, and then the non-public is 119,845. The IU operating payment is 11,953. And then we have student activities, the supplies, we added $1,000 for PBIS. Also, just to point out, including the new uniforms for athletics, I think the rotation for uniforms this year is cheerleading, football, and golf. Then we have the 2018 bond for the energy project that we did last school year. We owe $472,075. And then we're looking for the cafeteria, the food service fund transfer of $89,262. There's the budget summary of all the different categories, and it comes down to $16,569,242. If we do the revenue with trying not to increase, we would be out $1,693,777. And if we are able to even go to the index at 3.6, it would be $1,646,752. Is there any questions on the line item expenditures?
May I have a question about the PBIS secondary field trip? That was towards the top.
Is anybody talking?
PBIS field trips.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I had a question about the line item for PIVIS, which PBIS, the secondary field trip.
Okay.
It was 3,000 in last year, and you said you added 5, but it went to 18,000.
Oh, well, there's lots of other field trips in there too. That was in the high school, is that correct?
Yes, okay, so that's not all PBIS.
No, I just put the part that PBIS asked for And then the rest is from the other areas at the high school.
Okay, now that makes sense.
Okay.
And I had one other question, the police officer supplies. I'm sorry, I'm making you scroll all around.
That's fine. I'm just, give me 1 minute here. Please, they're at the end. Okay.
Okay, so why are we, whoops.
I just passed it.
Yep.
Okay.
So why do we have like 10,000 increase Title IV supplies for the police? Just what are we getting?
We
Between
actually,
two lines.
yeah, we have that Title IV money that we were able to use for the police. But do you know what
We
that?
could use that for safety upgrades as well. And that's how we had that designated in the past. We were looking at possible upgrades to the facilities, so we had the money in there, and that's that federal revenue that's coming down through. We don't have it line items right now, but we figured after the safety and security audit that there could be some potential upgrades, whether it be ballards out front or, an entranceway or whatever it may be.
Okay, thank you.
So David, just to be clear, that is money that needs to be spent on safety and security because of the funding stream, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And we just found out that PCCD grant for next year for the 2021 school year will be $30,000, $25,000 for 1920 school year.
One question I have, Emmy, in terms of the food service transfer. That's a pretty big jump. And can you explain why that is?
Grant actually does the cafeteria budget, and oh boy, I can't think right off what the changes were with that.
Did I understand that we had to hire 2 part-time
We did.
people because of the audit?
We did.
Okay.
So we have that, plus you have the increase in their salaries, and you have, really, that's the majority of it, the increase in retirement, the increase in the benefits. And then there was just a couple other costs. I think some food costs went up, but
Okay, everyone, I know that that's a lot of information to digest. So does anybody else have any questions about anything that Emmy covered there?
and also, I mean, numbers will be changing too, because like we just received like notice of the 30,000 for the police, and we didn't want to change anything because we'd already sent this budget out to the board. So there will be changes, and as we find out better information on revenue, that's all going to be changing. We'll present in May at the next board meeting. It will be on the 2028. Then we'll also have another chance between May and June to even get it in better shape before you vote on it in June.
We do have a deficit, as you can see right there, and in a couple of years, it could possibly deplete the fund balance that we have. And we're just looking for feedback from the board as far as taxation and any kind of potential cuts as well. As we finalize that budget. This is the preliminary budget, and the numbers are rough right now. Just keep that in mind.
I have a question.
Okay, Diane.
So if we would raise taxes, if everybody decides to do that, and it's only going to give us what, $47,025?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was thinking right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Kelly, I can see you talking, but I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
That's better.
Okay. I just was saying that the only thing you have to keep in mind is we add that 47,000 this year, but then every year that adds on. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
You like, if we don't add it this year, next year, what I'm saying is if we increase it this year, next year, we automatically have the 47,000 plus if we increase again. I don't know, am I explaining that correctly?
You are. You know, as the assessed value changes and the stead market value changes, it jumps everything around, especially when we're in the 4 counties. But yes, we would have that, and then like we would, if we go next year and going to the index again, it would be another increase.
The other thing I want to remind folks about is that the amount that we're increasing for the assistant business manager is for 1 year, because our intention, remember, we talked about, is not to have an assistant, but this is just to get us somebody who's trained and can have that knowledge base. So that amount is just 1 year. So I do want to remind folks about that too.
I mean, you could start with a share.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it says new share. Is that what I wanted?
That green
Oh,
button.
stop right there. Okay.
We could have more discussion whenever we move into the voting meeting. Aaron will pull up the agenda again, and we'll move down into personnel. We do have 2 items this evening. One's a letter of resignation from our high school study hall monitor that was effective March 9th, 2020. And then we also, with regret, are accepting the letter of retirement from Jen Barr. She's been with the district since 1992. Jen does elementary special education and fantastic employee and a great educator as well. Moving down through instructional services, there's a number of reports that we'll come back to, Lori, Bill, federal programs, and myself, but there's a couple line items that I would like to highlight. Underneath the secondary report, we do have a consideration to approve a math lab at the junior seniors high school for 7th and 8th grade students. We discussed that briefly. I know there's mixed feelings with that particular addition. So this time I'd like to call upon Mr. Jordan if he'd like to share his thoughts on that. And then we'll move down into the baseball trip.
I want to make sure everybody understands I'm not against having a math lab per se. However, you know, we've had this in the past, and you know, with the management aspect at the high school, and especially being just myself now, you know, I don't want this turning into a homework club, and that's kind of what it is turned into in the past. So I am going to be working closely with the math teachers to, you know, come up with a plan that identifies the lowest performing students that are in their class, and create some engaging activities that hopefully will, you know, spawn a little bit more performance from those students. So I just, you know, I'm not opposed to it. I just, again, I don't want it turning into a club where they just work on homework, because there's no evidence whatsoever that completion of homework increases those test scores. Does anybody have any questions for me as far as that part goes?
Bill, this is Jen. You said that we had this before. I just don't recall that. How long ago did we have that?
It was probably my first 2 or 3 years whenever I came to the district. Callie Shekel, she actually had a math lab, and She actually worked with every single student in that lab. It was at the end of the day, 10th period, and I observed her actually one of those times, and she focused in on what was tested on the state mandated tests, and she used data to be able to drive what she was doing with those students. After she left, and I mean, it's just a individual skill of each teacher, but diving into the data is an area where I think we really need to move, so that we can look at what actually is working for these kids in the classroom. Instruction from any teacher is known to be the number one precursor for whether or not a student performs well on a standardized test. Just adding extra time, I do have concerns with that. For instance, if the ELA, they come to me next and they say, well, we need a math or a ELA lab, an extra period. And I actually did reach out to the other principals in, the area, and there are some that do have math labs, but a lot of the higher performing schools at 7th and 8th grade don't have a math lab. It's just they concentrate on the instruction. They have focused in on the things that are on the test, which I don't really like that. I mean, it's a balance of teaching to the test and teaching good math skills. That's the problem with mandated tests. That's the issue that we come up with all the time. We end up teaching to the test just to improve scores so that we meet those yearly performance levels. And the downside of it is that we narrow the curriculum to the point that we're only teaching what is tested, and that's the part I don't like. So we're going to have to find a balance there somewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Very well said. Moving down through the agenda, we also have a motion in front of you to permit John Irwin and the AC Valley Boys baseball team to begin the process of scheduling for spring training in Florida for the spring of 2021, barring any kind of pandemics that may arise. I know the timing of this request is concerning just because of the current situation with COVID-19, but it is something for the board to consider. We also have in there that they must purchase travel insurance, and we also modified policy 121 to have the same information for other trips as well. It just makes sense at this particular time and the uncertainty that we have out there with COVID-19. We'll come back to the federal programs report and the district report, but I'd like to highlight a couple items underneath the district report. We do have two contracts in front of you. The first one is the agreement with Key Solution Educational Staffing for the Director of Special Education. That is Tim Dadich. It remains 21 hours per week, and the salary has not increased or decreased. It's the exact same. The only information that I added in there that I could increase the hours with the superintendent's discretion. We are looking at a special education audit, and without having a a school psychologist on staff right now, there's going to be a lot of work in that department. So there may be times when Tim has to add additional hours to prepare for the audit. And then the second motion is an agreement with the same company, and it's for the contracted school psychologist. Now, our aim is to hire on a full-time school psychologist, but if something were to fall through with that, or it takes some time for that person to be released, we do have to begin the special education evaluations as soon as we get back up and running. In addition to that audit that I just referenced, I think it's a good practice. There will be no money paid one way or the other until we have a psychologist here, and it's a cost per evaluation. So it's just pretty much a safety plan for the special education program right now. And then the other item that we have down there is a resolution, and that's the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program. With the state of the economy, that may or may not happen, but Governor Wolf had a proposal to eliminate contaminants from school districts, including but not limited to asbestos removal. So I encourage the school board to adopt that resolution so we can send it in to show our favor of that. Moving down into policy, we do have a couple policies in front of you this evening. We have a second reading of head lice, policy 209.1, and then we also have policy 121, copy of field trips, and that's what I referenced earlier. There's one sentence, and it's just a change that we do require travel insurance with that. Now, policy or letter C under IU6 local LEA application, that's to ensure that our students are receiving their individualized instruction, FAPES being met through the IU. We have a number of IU classrooms that we partner with, and our students are out there, and that's a yearly approval. And with the new board members, I just wanted them to have an understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Are there any questions on instructional services or policies before I move on? Hearing none, unless there's any questions for me at this time, I'll turn it over to Jennifer Fight, and she could begin down through the voting meeting. She has a number of items to cover as well, and we took notes throughout the week. So I think between the two of us and the support from Tammy and Emmy, we'll be able to get through the agenda. So this time, Jen.
All right, everybody. Aaron has a flag that he can put up for us, and we will do our pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Aaron. We'll now take a moment of silence. All right, we want to make a note for the record before we do the roll call that we did have a virtual executive session on March 3rd of 2020 at 5:30 for personnel reasons. So now, Tammy, if you will call the roll, please.
Carrie Armagost,
Present.
Megan Dreyer,
Here.
Jennifer Fight,
Here.
Diane Page,
Here.
Corey Sherman,
Here.
Lena Southworth,
Here.
Jameen Stump,
Here.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Here.
Mark Bertel.
Here.
Great, thank you. Now, I just want to remind you all that as we do go through, all of our votes are going to be roll call votes, just because Tammy's not able to necessarily hear or see everybody at the same time. So all of our votes tonight will be roll call. So I'll ask her to go through that. And when you vote, you will either say yay or nay. You're in agreement with the motion or you are opposed to the motion, okay? And I'll try to remind you at the beginning of that. So the first thing that I would like to do before we do anything else is we need to have a motion from someone to suspend our policy 006.1, attendance at meetings via electronic communication. I believe that Tammy sent that out to you all to take a look at. Because what it says is that a majority of our board members shall be physically present at a board meeting when a board member attends through electronic communications. So we don't necessarily want to do away with the policy, but in light of the situation right now, we need to suspend that. And we'll do that per each meeting, because my thought is we'll probably only have a couple that we need to do this way as we're moving forward. Let's just cross our fingers about that. So whoever wants to make that motion and seconds it, please remember to say your name so that Tammy has that for the record, okay?
I'll make a motion that we suspend the policy that states we need to have a majority of board members physically present at a meeting. So moved.
Diane
Kelly
Page.
Terwilliger.
Diane Page, I'll second.
All right, so Kelly moved, Diane seconded. This will be a roll call vote. So Tammy, please take the vote.
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jennifer Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yes.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right, so that passes. Thank you. Now what we will do, we'll have a reading and approval of the minutes for the revised workshop and regular board meeting held March 16th, 2020. That was an in-person meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
This is Lena Southworth. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
This is Kelly
is Mark.
Terwilliger. I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Got to be a little quicker on that microphone, Mark. So this will again will be a roll call vote. Tammy, please take the vote.
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jennifer Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Don't forget to unmute yourself, Diane.
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right, motion passes. And I do not believe we had anybody submit any public participation, correct, Tammy? No one submitted any, so we have none at this particular time. And as it looks, we don't have any attendees other than us on the meeting either. So we'll just move right along. We have no presentations tonight. Does anybody have any board concerns that they want to bring up? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move right along. We have nothing for the consent agenda, so we're going to skip right over that. And we'll go right into finance and purchase. So Mark, will you take us through that, please?
All right, I would like to lump together letters A through H and approve. So moved.
Diane Page, I'll second.
Okay, so I heard Diane, so let's go with her for that second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion for letters A through H? All right, this again will be a roll call vote. So Tammy, please take the vote.
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right, that motion passes.
Item I, consideration to approve the designated assigned and unassigned 2019 through 2020 fund budget report as attached. So moved.
Lena
Second.
second.
All right, so we'll go with Lena seconding that one. So the motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? And everybody's clear what we're talking about, right? That's that item I that Emmy gave to you with that information on there. All right, Tammy, will you take the vote?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
and Mark Bertel.
Yay.
All right, that motion carries. So we have approved that. So now the next piece of this is that we need to give some direction to Emmy in regards to how we want to write, how we want her to present the budget information to us in May. So we need to look at a couple of things, and I think I sent this out to you guys in an email earlier. We need to give her direction about tax increase or no increase. 0%, meaning we're going to stay very close to what we were in the 1920 budget, or we want to raise that to the index, which is that 3.6% that she gave you. Those two item J documents. And of course, like I said, you can go anywhere in between this. We just don't have the numbers for that. So let's have some discussion about that particular piece.
This is Carrie. When was the last time we had an increase, and what was it?
Hold on, Emmy forgot to unmute herself.
Sorry. Last year was the first year that we did not go to the index. We tried to get it as close as we had it to the prior year. The year before, was it 2.6%? I honestly can't remember, and I don't have that.
Just one second. David thinks that he has that information, Carrie. I know that last year, oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, it would have been, I will say probably, for the last several, we have always raised to the index. And then last year we decided not to.
I'm going to say, Carrie, at least for 5 to 7 years.
I would say that too, yeah.
Prior to last year, that we did raise taxes to the index. Last year was the first one where we didn't raise them for quite a while. But that, keep in mind, that's because we were catching up, because prior boards had not done due diligence in terms of keeping the income up with our expenditures.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or discussion?
I guess I look at it as, if we raise it, it isn't really giving us that much money, $47,000. But then you also have to look at it in a 10-year time period, that's $500,000 that we've added.
Right. Yeah, so it not only affects this year's budget, it will in fact affect coming year's budgets as well.
Exactly.
This is Diane Page. I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Diane.
I realize we probably do need to raise the taxes. It's just coming at a bad time. People have lost their jobs. They haven't been working. It's just a sad situation right now.
It definitely is. And that makes our decisions right now even harder, because you're right. People are, not working. Hopefully some are getting paid, but not everyone is getting paid. Getting unemployment right now is very difficult. Lots of things to take into consideration this year that we have never had to before. And did you mean to say something? Because you were muted. Sorry, I mean,
House Bill 976 may, not permit us to raise taxes anyways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did everybody hear that? Okay.
So do we need to make a motion and make a decision tonight that if we are or are not?
I think what we need to do is to give Emmy direction. I don't think we necessarily need a motion tonight. What we need to do is tell her what the percentages that we want her to plug in to present to us in May. So we need to either tell her no increase, we want to increase it to the index, or we want to go somewhere in between. Remember, we can't go above that index. We can't go above that 3.6%. But we can go from 0 to 3.6%.
I'm not in favor of raising it at this point, even though I know that that's going to be a lump sum 10 years down the road. But I think with the economics of the country right now, it wouldn't be fair for us to ask for that increase. I don't know how everybody else thinks.
So
I agree with Kelly.
This is Diane. I agree as well.
I realize it doesn't seem like much more revenue when we raise it that, if we would raise it that 3.6%, because I think according to Dave, we've cut about everything we can cut. So it's really hard to even make a difference of that increase, but hopefully we can find it somewhere.
I agree. I don't think we should at this point. This was Jameen, by the way.
David, the government is talking about, because of everything that's going on, increasing the educational subsidy or a new subsidy from the federal government. Do you know anything on that?
We haven't got a whole lot of information on the CARES Act, but I do have a little bit of info that it looks like if that is passed, it's going to be a $2 trillion line item with $30.75 billion for education. PASBA projects Pennsylvania to get $400 million distributed out to the K through 12 schools. But as far as any kind of specific information, we haven't received that yet, Kelly.
So possibly that could make up our 47,000 if we don't raise taxes for this year anyway.
It could. The other stipulation I'd like to mention as well is the governor did put $100 million additional dollars in for basic education funding, and then $25 million additional dollars for special education funding. With that being said, this budget that we have in front of you does have that money in it. AC Valley was looking at getting $75,000 additional dollars in revenue this year. We haven't heard anything one way or the other, so we've left it in, but that may be something we will be discussing as well, depending on what that budget looks like in Harrisburg.
So you did add about 75,000 in. You said, David.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear everything, Kelly.
I said you did say you added that 75,000 additional dollars into this budget.
Yes, we have that in the budget currently.
Carrie, Lena, what are your thoughts? Megan?
I'm in agreement, you know, given the demographics of our area, you know, people are really struggling. So, you know, this would be a hit to them that I don't know that we want to impose.
I agree with that as well.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so Emmy, if you'll go ahead with the no increase on the real estate. And then the other piece that I asked you all to think about in this budget at this particular time, when you look at item J and all of the line items, was there anything in the budget that you had additional questions about, or that you felt should not be included in the budget as it is right now? So we're okay with having it put in as it is right now, and kind of seeing where we go in terms of what comes for the next month, and we can continue to have this discussion in May as to thinking about the expenditures that are in the budget. Yeah, I see lots of.
I'm sorry. The only thing I would ask, and we've talked about this before, can we get more reimbursement for what we do for the Maze Center? I know we only get 5%, but
We have tried in the past to increase that, and PD shot us down. It was PDE that told us we weren't allowed to take more than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did a time study. It's been a number of years now, and we did track everybody's time. And at the time, Mid-Atlantic Youth was at capacity, 99 beds, and they were generating just about $1 million. So it was roughly $50,000 per year that we got. And we tracked Emmy's, Jody's, Megan, my time, and broke it down by cost, and it was just about $50,000. So right now, I don't think we can, Kelly. I mean, I wish we could, but right now, that's pretty much what it is. We're at 5%. Some schools get less. Some schools, I think there might be a max at 7%, but I haven't looked into it for a couple of years, so I'd have to get back to you on that.
okay. Just asking as a way to add something to the budget, because I can't see anything else that we can take out.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight budget. I mean, everybody's done a good job in terms of what's been asked for, and kind of what we're doing. You know, I definitely think that the pieces that we've put in there, like I said to you before, the assistant business manager, that's going to be a 1 year expenditure, so that'll come out next for the next budget.
Jen, I'm sorry, how much was the total for that expenditure for the business manager, assistant business manager?
Hold on, Lena, I gotta grab it here.
We just put in a rough number of $50,000 for a salary, and then the benefits add up. Me and Jen are both looking right now.
We put in 50,000 for the salary, and then we planned on a family plan for the benefits so that we had enough money in there for that person. That could go down to single, it's hard to tell, but that's 23,789 for the hospital, 802 for dental, 164 for life, income protection 138, vision 215, social security 3,825, retirement 17,255, unemployment 70, and workers' comp 350.
And if you are looking at item J with the line item expenditures, it's on page 14.
Just keep in mind too, that we eliminated a administrative position last year. We had a director of education that moved on, and we chose not to fill that position in an attempt to help reduce the expenditures.
Another big item there is the school psychologist, which I think that, you know, is an absolute need for the district. So I unless somebody's got a lot of some strong thoughts otherwise, I think that needs to stay in our budget as well. You know, another big jump is the projection for the IU students. When you look at that, that was close to $90,000 right there. You know, so we've asked for some additional information from the IU just to get an idea of exactly where the money goes and, you know, what they're using it for, you know. And of course there's, let me see, what else did I want to just make sure that we mention.
Jen, going back to that IU cost, I just wanted to let the board know that that's projected off the number of students that we have in the IU classroom. So as we have students come through the district, we try to provide them with the least restricted environment and meet their needs here. And depending on the particular disability or behavior, we try to do our best to prevent sending students out, but on occasion there is a time where the students need additional supports. With that being said, I have worked with Tim Dadich quite closely to try to bring students back once we send them out into an IU classroom and they're able to develop the skill set to make them successful back here in the district. Then we've been bringing them back, and that's why we added a day to that social worker, because we use that person to help make that transition back into the district. So every kid that we bring back or not send out will help reduce that cost. And depending on the number of teachers in each classroom and the years of experience that they have, it's just a cost calculation that breaks down, and that's what each of the school districts are paying.
I have two questions. First of all, the psychologist tuition, $12,000. I know we talked about doing that, but didn't we also, and I just want to make sure, are we not also asking that they commit to so many years service to us? If
Yes,
we're
that's
paying,
correct.
okay, Lena's saying 5. So we have
Yeah, that's correct, Kelly, and that will be written into their agreement whenever we do.
Okay. Second question we talked about, is there any way we can reduce the number of aides we're using in the district?
Yeah, that could be a possibility. I did send out some information today from Lori and Tim Dadich. We went from 3 aides to 15 aides right now, and there is a substantial cost. We could take a look at the number of students and exactly what they're doing. But yeah, that could be a possibility as well.
I mean, how do they get determined? I know they write that in their IEP somewhat, and is that something we can look at keeping close track of so we can reduce the cost we have for aides?
I'll turn it over to Lori here in a moment, but yeah, there's a handful of aides that are written in the IEP, but we also use grade level aides as well. And I know they offer the teachers a great deal of support and are able to help meet the needs of the students, but there's a number of aides that are not written into the IEP as well. And Lori, do you want to comment on that any further?
Yeah, did you say you did share out the list Tim and I made and the duties?
I did, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I tried to indicate on that list which ones we do use to meet IEP needs. The others are scheduled in the classrooms with the IEP students. That's kind of their home base, so that they can give them some assistance in the regular classroom. But we can move the ones that are not specifically written in the IEPs, we can move them as needed. For instance, we had a 4th grade aide, and we had her working with 2 different students, one in Mr. Hiles' room, one in Mrs. Black's room. So she went room to room. But when we're looking for a home base for them, we put them in the classroom that holds the most needy learning support students that are in regular ed classrooms.
Just keep in mind too that when we added all these additional aides, we did have a number of students that were really struggling with not only behavior but academics as well. And most of those students either got an IEP or a behavior plan that's helped reduce some of their behaviors, and many of them are out in the IU classrooms right now. So the behaviors that we've seen over the past few years, we really haven't seen much of that this year at all. And again, that's just a broad statement, and I'm not saying that we don't have misbehaviors, but they are much less than what we had a couple years ago.
One other, Kelly, if you're talking, you've got yourself muted.
No, I thought sorry. I just wondered what Lori's gut feeling was on that. I don't want to, eliminate any people, but if that's a possibility, it's still maintain the quality of education we're providing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. So that's something we're definitely going to have to think about, take a look at, keep an eye on. Other thoughts or comments in terms of the budget line items? One other thing I wanted to point out to folks too, just so that we're all clear, if you look on page 4 of item J, that's where the cyber school information is at. And Emmy put in there that there were 8 elementary and 13 high school. Those are, just to be clear, those are outside cyber kids, not in our cyber program here at ACV. So those are going outside. And that, correct me if I'm wrong, is based on the number we currently have in outside cyber schools, correct? Yes, okay, yes. So that 8 elementary and 13 high school are based on what we have outside cyber schools. And so that's why there's such a significant increase there. Okay. And just another area to think about that Emmy highlighted for us is just the PIBS budget for the high school. That's an increase for next year. So any other thoughts that we have right now? Okay, Emmy, is there anything else that you need from us at the moment to move forward for getting the budget together for May?
Well, no, really, the best thing was for the tax, a real estate tax, setting that. And then we will be changing things as more information comes into us. So there will be changes continued to be made.
Okay, good. And so we will make sure that we are sending information out to you throughout the month so that everybody can keep up to date with it. So you've got more information, because I know for you guys that are new, this is definitely a lot of information to digest. Okay, so if there's no other discussion, we'll move forward. All right, so Lena, will you do personnel for us, please?
Okay. Sorry about that. Consideration to accept the letter of resignation from Lydia Thompson, a high school study hall monitor, effective March 9th, 2020. So moved.
Diane, second.
Okay, Lena moved, Diane seconded. Tammy, will you take the vote for us, please?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
and Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right, the motion carries.
Letter B, consideration to accept the letter of retirement effective at the end of the 2019-2020 school year from Jennifer Barr. Jennifer has been an employee with the district since August 1992. So moved.
Second.
Second was from Megan. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, Tammy, will you take the?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
and Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right, motion carries. Instructional services. Carrie, could you take us down through that, please?
Sure. Elementary report.
So Mostly what I'm going to focus on is, of course, our distance learning, because that's the biggest thing that we have going on right now that I can update you all on. First of all, for those of you that maybe don't know or haven't seen it yet, if you go to our website at acvsd.org, there is the format is called a Padlet, but it's basically a menu that has all of our teachers, support staff, nurses, counselors. It lists their email address, what their office hours are. They have provided some quick links to resources in some cases under the grade levels or support staff. And for every teacher, there is a link to Google Classrooms. So then if you click on the link to Google Classrooms, the students had to have an invite or a code in order to get into them. So other than students and their families, no one can go beyond the login part of the Google Classroom. But in the Google Classrooms, the teachers have, the classroom teachers have the 4 content areas covered: ELA, math, social studies, and science. They are also utilizing other resource links in there, some of the online programs that they use in class, like MobyMax. They have the kids working on that through there as well. It, of course, is all review, practice, and enrichment, no new instruction. Some of it is posted like PDFs that students can work on with their families. Some of it is more interactive activities. And then many of the teachers, I'd say, I think all of them at this point, classroom teachers, have held a live meeting. Sometimes the live meetings are for educational purposes to go over something that they're working on in one of their activities. And sometimes it's just social, because the kids are really missing that connection with their teachers and their classmates. Even our specials teachers have classrooms on Google Classroom. The students access those mostly through their teacher classrooms. The attendance or the enrollment in the specials classrooms has not been as high as it has for the regular classrooms. So I've been asking the regular classroom teachers to sort of remind students that they can go to gym class with Mr. Lockery. He has weekly exercise videos that he asks the students to do and then report when they've completed. Mrs. Namelli posts grade level appropriate at-home projects students can complete with items they might have at home. And then they have been, the ones that are participating have been sharing pictures and videos of their completed work. Miss Best from the library has shared a ton of things. She has a lot of AR information. Kids can still be working on their AR from home. She gives them reading suggestions and links to books, as well as provides library tech lessons each week for every single grade, K through 6. You know, they do things like coding activities or learning how to do some different things with the internet. And thankfully, Miss Best did provide some Google Classroom instruction through the year in library tech. Certainly not to the extent where students are proficient and able to just jump right on without any struggles, but at least some of them were familiar with it. And the music teachers are also sharing some videos and music activities that the students can do. Mrs. Kersey has been hosting some live meetings. I attended her meeting with Logger and Miss Marcia this week. And at one point we had 40 students in addition to the 4 adults. And it got a little bit chaotic. They weren't muting themselves and everybody was talking over top of each other. So that was kind of a live and learn. And she's got some ideas for improving that next time. But by the end, they were starting to cooperate, and one student even read a story to Logger during that live meeting. I have to say that, you know, I was a little bit emotional at the end of the meeting after seeing the kids, because that's what we miss the most. Then we also have Mr. Simpson, Mrs. Daly. She and Mrs. Irwin have a site together. Our title teachers and Ms. Collins, all available for students to meet with, you know, via email or Zoom if they need any supports from those types of teachers. The large majority of kids have logged in. The enrollment goes anywhere from 78% to 86% of an entire class. Now that is just enrollment. That's not participation. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're seeing participation wise. But in addition to the live, we had probably a little more than 24 families pick up packets because they didn't have internet access where they live, or not reliable internet access. Some are using strictly just packets, and we don't really have any way of tracking how that is going. Some are utilizing the packets, but also checking in online, as the teachers have been reporting. I believe Mr. McDevitt shared with you a compilation of some feedback I got from the teachers. I had reached out to them and basically asked them to focus on what kind of participation they're seeing, the quality of work that they're getting, and what struggles and successes they've been having. The involvement is very heavily dependent, especially in K through 2, on the parent involvement, or the ability for the parents to be involved. It's not always necessarily that they don't want to be, it maybe is just, you know, whatever's going on with their household in these times makes it a little bit trickier for them. But they were reporting in those grades anywhere from 17% actually checking in every day to about 66% turning in assignments. That's up in 2nd grade. And they've also reported that it just kind of depends on the day. Some days they have, you know, a high participation rate, and then other days they don't. You know, the daily work can be sporadic. And it's very hard for the teachers to really track attendance. They're trying to figure out a way to keep track of that and get some better data. But they don't, just because a student doesn't turn something in for a day, doesn't mean that they weren't on doing some other activity. And they can't necessarily track that. Or if they can, we haven't figured out how to do that yet. So focusing on the strengths and successes, or I'm sorry, strengths and struggles. We'll start with the struggles so that we can end on a positive note. Their participation overall is not where they would like it to be. They were pleased when they saw the enrollment numbers, you know, how many kids logged in and it looked like they were going to participate. But then, as I said, it's day to day, how many are participating and actually turning things in, and joining their meetings as well. Some days they have a live meeting and they have a lot of participants, and other days there's just a few. It's been a struggle learning the platform as we go. I mean, we basically had 4 days to get this all prepared and get it up and running, and sometimes things aren't working like they thought, so they fix it on the fly and, you know, learn from the mistake and move on. And the same with the students, you know, because it wasn't something that we used regularly at the elementary, the students have also had a learning curve on how to find things, how to turn things in. So therefore, parental involvement becomes very important. The students who have parents that are able to help them have a little bit more success rate with that than maybe some that don't have as much support in attending and turning things in. Another thing that teachers are reporting as a big struggle is assisting the struggling students, because it's not like in a classroom where you can be looking over their shoulder, see what they might be doing incorrectly and be able to kind of fix it on the fly. So they have to see what they submitted, figure out what it is, then reach out to that particular student. It's not as immediate feedback. So that could be another situation where we're learning as we go on maybe how we can improve that. We were going to have a sort of a faculty meeting by grade levels to talk about maybe some things that are working for some teachers that could help some others. The quality of work being submitted has been a little bit of a concern, only because they said sometimes the motivation doesn't seem to be there. Even in their live meetings, they said kids can be easily distracted because they're at home, you know, and maybe SpongeBob's on the television, or you know, little sister runs into the room or whatever. They also thought that because it's not mandatory or graded, that could be also adding to the problem of their motivation to submit quality work. Sometimes they think it's an issue of they're used to when they're online on social media type platforms, which the Google Classroom looks a little bit like. They don't pay as particular attention to their grammar, punctuation, things like that. Whereas, you know, this should be a more academic submission. They're kind of submitting it just like they would something on a social media platform. And the struggle of the students craving their social interactions, so that when they do have live meetings, they're more interested in seeing one another and saying hi to each other. And it has made the academic piece of live meetings a little bit tougher to get going. Although the teachers did, figure out quickly that they can mute students. So they can turn that mute on if they need to, if someone's being particularly disruptive. But then the strengths, and I think that overall the teachers have been very positive in reporting what's been going on. One of the things that has pleased me the most, I would have to say, is that I've gotten lots of comments from them about how they're working so well together and learning from each other, and seeing that some people have strengths that they can share with others, and the collaboration factor has been higher in this platform than it maybe is in the traditional classroom setting, where sometimes they tend to do their thing in their classroom and not reach out to others as much. Because this is new for pretty much everybody, they have had to have that collaboration in order to make it work. I would say a strength is the quality of the activities and lessons that are being provided to the students. I get in the classrooms just about every day just to see what's being posted and what kinds of things are going on. And there are some very quality activities there that I think seem engaging, interesting. There's been like escape rooms. There's been, all kinds of interactive things for the kids to do that I would think would be engaging enough to entice them to come on and give it a try. Teachers have also commented that they feel like they're having more interaction with parents and families because of this platform, because of the parents who are involved and asking questions, and those parents have been overall supportive of the teachers and their efforts. So I think that communication between home and school improving is a very good thing from all of this. The ability to do the Zoom meetings and meet in person, whether it's for social or academic, I think is a strength, and I've encouraged the teachers. Many of them were hesitant at first to do it because this Zoom thing, looking at each other and being on screen can be a little intimidating at first, but I said, I feel like my life is the Brady Bunch now. I've done it so much. So the teachers are starting to dabble in that and find that it's not so bad, and it is a really good way to see the kids and let the kids see each other. A couple staff members have said, that in the beginning they were worried about this being forced to learn this Google Classroom platform and having to use it on the fly. But now that they have been forced to learn it, they've learned some new things about it and seen ways that they can use it. Even after this is over and we get back to normal, they said, a lot of them have reported to me that they will continue using Google Classrooms as a piece of their physical classroom when we return to normalcy. And even though the learning on the fly, I did report under struggles, I think it has also been a strength. It's forced us to have some flexibility to learn from our mistakes and grow from them, and fix things and acknowledge, when students and families point out some of the things that we could do better, and then they buckle down and they find ways to do it better and be more applicable for students and their families at home. And I think that's about all I have, unless you have questions about our distance learning program.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the secondary report.
I only have a couple of items at the high school, but before I get into those, I'd like to just echo the sentiments that Lori had there. She covered that quite thoroughly, and it's very similar at the high school as far as rolling out our educational continuity plan. I actually met with some of the teachers today via Zoom to get their feedback and to share in the frustrations and in the wins that we have. And a lot of them actually mentioned that of the student work that's handed in at the high school, they feel that it's very, very good quality, much better than what they had anticipated to start. The amount of participation is a little bit tougher to swallow, and many of them are reporting right around 50% participation in most classes. We're going to see if we can try a few things to try to boost that percentage a little bit, try to communicate out a little better to get kids to log on and get engaged in that curriculum. I really want to give a shout out to the teachers, though. They've done a fantastic job. They're right on it as far as communication, anytime I've had to connect with them, and I'm attached to every one of their accounts, I see that they are speaking with students, they're helping students, they're working very hard at doing everything that they can to keep kids moving in the right direction. So, if you see one of the teachers, just thank them and let them know that you're behind them and that you support them in their efforts. The two items that I have that I just want to speak briefly about, first of all, from PIAA, as you all know, spring athletics has been completely canceled. They don't even have a plan for finishing up winter championship playoffs at the state level for basketball or for any of those types of things. As far as fall sports go, we are simply waiting to get direction from the state. No decision will be made until at least probably August 1st. The first actual practice date for fall sports is more toward the middle of August. So we should have some guidance by then. But they wanted to make sure that we all know that there, until that time, there should be no practices, no scrimmages, no informal get-togethers to do any of those things, and to follow strict social distancing guidelines. The last item that I have is a communication from the Union School District, and this is in relation to our co-ops. And this specifically is in regard to the hiring of our coaches. And I actually had discussed this some time ago with Scott Kendall, the AD over at Union. And because we share programs, it's kind of important that we all agree on who the coaches should be as well. And not that there has been a ton of difficulty in that area, but what Union would like to do is to set up a joint board committee of 2 or 3 board members on our side, 2 or 3 board members on their side, the building principals, the athletic directors on both sides, and discuss hiring coaches in each of the positions on each side. Now, just as an aside, Union does renew their contracts every year. They look at the contracts that they have with coaches and they rehire. We have never done that. There are good things and bad things about doing that. But what they would like to do is just, kind of get more on the same page with us so that, for example, in golf or cross country or football, any of them, that we can get together and discuss any candidate, whether it be on their side or our side, discuss those candidates and come to an agreement that we as a group, as a joint board committee, could make a recommendation to either Union on their side or AC Valley if we are the ones hiring for that candidate. They would like to set up a couple Zoom sessions to discuss that issue. And I want to just throw out there, if anybody has any interest in that, they can contact either myself or maybe David or Tammy, let them know. But Union is looking to try to set up some Zoom sessions as early as next week to discuss that.
Bill, just so that you know, we did send, I sent an email out to the board asking if anybody is interested. There's a lot of board members that are interested. And so we'll have some discussion at the board level, and I'll let you know who those board members are going to be. Couple of questions. When we first entered into this co-op, the suggestion was made to do this joint interviewing and decision making, and it was turned down at that particular point. What's facilitating it now?
Well, again, as you know, Union rehires their coaches every year. There are some personnel issues on their end. They specifically in football, they have not rehired Brad Dittman as of this time. And I think there are some concerns on their end with the individuals that we have hired on our side. You know, I don't want to speak about personnel issues, you know, to the open general public, but I can assure you that any issues that were brought to my attention, Scott Kendall can second this because he knows very closely the things that I've done, Scott DeTulio as well, with a few issues, but you know, sometimes you hear things, and when you get down to investigating particular situations, it's a lot of hearsay and things that really can get blown out of proportion or taken to a level that it never should have gone to. But they do have concerns on their side with some folks that we have on our side, and I think they want to, in the future, just moving forward, try to come to some kind of agreement so that we're all on the same page with those hires.
And these initial meetings that they want to have, is this to determine sort of the process at the beginning that this is going to take?
Yes, just to have that discussion. You know, my own, if you want my opinion on it, I mean, ultimately, AC Valley, you as a school board control the hiring on this side. The committee could make a recommendation, but ultimately you know, I feel very strongly that AC Valley needs to continue to maintain that decision-making power. And I would say the same thing for Union on their side. I think we run a pretty tight ship on this end. You know, Dr. Tulio and I think we, being very involved in all the different sports that we have, we provide support for our coaches, but we also, you know, we have some honest conversations sometimes with them that, you know, we want to provide athletic programs that can help students to grow, to build character, to, you know, just progress as young people. And that's who we need to craft our programs for. When adults get into that mix and there are personality clashes and things like that, that only detracts from our goal of having good athletic programs for our students.
I agree with you.
Jen, is it, and I forget now, but isn't it addressed in the teacher's contract, how we handle supplementals for like coaching staff? I know it's in the contract, but I can't remember if it's the support staff or the
It
teachers.
is in the professional staff, Jameen. So the teaching staff, those supplementals for the assistant coaches are in that. You know, so and basically, I think that's really more about salary and years of service and where that puts them in salary.
Okay, and that's where it states that we don't open it up every year.
I don't think it states that. We've chosen to open things up before when we've had issues with coaches, but typically it's not our practice to reopen it every year.
Because I think it addresses it in there and says that this is the criteria, where it's not like I'm just trying to maybe clarify for the new people, is it doesn't, that's why we don't open them up every year arbitrarily, because it is addressed in the contract on how it's supposed to be handled or should be handled. You know, unless somebody resigns or there's an issue, they're not opened up every year.
We'll have to look at that, Jameen. I don't remember if it's specifically addressed like that, but that's a good piece that we can look at and see and send some language out.
Yeah, and that gives us the background on why we do it the way we do it, not just because, you know, oh, this is the way we want to. It's addressed in here how we are supposed to do it.
Can I also add in there that, you know, any change that we would make as far as if we were to include that committee, I think that we need to take a look at those co-op agreements, because it spells it out pretty specifically, you know, who hires on what side for which sport. So there would have to be a change there as well. And just to add on also one other topic that they want to discuss in this committee is the cooperation of the bands agreement. So that would be another area right there.
Is there some specific issue in terms of the bands that they want to discuss?
Possibly. They haven't come right out and told me. You know, I don't know specifically what their grievances are on that particular issue.
Okay.
But again, there are some things that, you know, and you go with, say, past practice. Their past practice is that they send their bands to every football game, every single one of them, away or home. Their band is there. On our side, I believe it was before I came to the district, and the former superintendent, I think, canceled out sending the band to all those games. And so, you know, we have sent ours to away games, but only the close ones. We haven't sent them to, say, for example, Oswego Valley or way up north.
Okay.
Past practice was, can't talk to me. We went to all of them at the beginning when we were our own entity. And then there was a transportation issue where we didn't go to any away games. I think all the schools stopped that. And then we went to them, but we don't go to the two furthest away. I don't know who or why that decision was made, but it was the two furthest away games that the band didn't go to. So just for past practice information.
And, you know, just for the board's information, I mean, if you remember, Jameen, when we created that band agreement, we told them that we weren't going to send our band to every one of those away games.
Correct.
And never heard anything negative at that point. So I'm not exactly sure what the issue is, what they want to talk about, but that's the second piece to that.
Okay.
And Jen, that does conclude my secondary report.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Consideration to approve a 7th and 8th grade math lab for the 2020-21 school year. Do we need to have any discussion on that, Jen?
Well, that's a motion, so let's get it moved and seconded, and then we can have discussion.
So moved.
Second, Kelly Terwilliger.
Thank you. So any discussion about this? I think you guys would remember that this came out of asking for suggestions in terms of our response to the letter we had to send out to the district regarding our numbers in math and ELA. At the beginning of the year, that seems like it was 1,000 years ago at this particular point. And so this came out of this recommendation, or this suggestion came out of that discussion. Anybody have any other questions, comments, concerns?
I agree with Bill. I think it needs to have some sort of structure or curriculum focus or something along the lines, and not just be like a homework club. Maybe have, I don't know exactly how you would structure it, but I definitely think that they need to, you know, provide that and not just kind of have it be like another study hall for those kids.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Megan.
Could we also, this is Jameen, could we also, you know, have a review of it again for next school year to see how it went, if it was something we needed to continue, if we could fix it, those types of things?
Sure, absolutely.
I think on my end, also just, I think we need to continually be reviewing what we're doing, you know, in the classroom. And, you know, I asked when I had a discussion with not just the math teachers, but it was math and ELA regarding these test scores. One of the questions I asked them, I said, you know, what are you doing differently today, this year, that you didn't do last year, or, the year before, or in my case, the year that I got here 8 years ago. And if the answer is not much different, then that's a problem that we need to look at as an organization. We need to continually be looking at the data. What does the data say? And how do we move forward, changing things if they're not working? Because those scores, they've been slowly eroding away, especially 7th and 8th grade, slowly eroding down to nothing. And yet we're doing the same thing. For that 42 minutes, you control that, what happens in that 42 minutes, and that needs to change. So I agree with you, and I thank you for your support and, moving this forward and hopefully making it an effective experience for those students.
Bill, this is Carrie. I do have a question. Is this if we add the lab, is it going to create any issues with the schedule? With the kids being able to get all their classes in that they need. And I say that as a parent more than anything, but are there any scheduling concerns that we need to be discussing?
There are some concerns there. Like I said, we've had this time, this time for extra math instruction the entire time that I've been here. You can call it what you want, call it a math lab or call it remediation or enrichment. This past year, we had students working on the Spider Learning Program. So, if you go back even a year and a half ago or so, I had discussions with some folks and to try to, get it more organized to actually working with the data and giving kids specific skills. We decided to go with the Spider Learning as a program, hoping on my end that, that would add some structure to that so that, it didn't turn into homework club. We'll never know how effective the Spider Learning was because, of course, there was no testing this year. And the fact that it was so expensive, I just had to cut it from the budget. So the time, is there. The issue I'm going to have as far as scheduling is specifically in regard to Mrs. Rothen, because she did not have that in her schedule. And her schedule is already very, very tight. So I'm not to that point. I mean, I've added that class already in anticipation of having this, be okayed tonight, be voted on tonight. So I already have it in her schedule right now, but I haven't added some of the other high level courses that she has. So it's going to take some moving around. I know Mrs. Rothen is interested in teaching the coding class. The coding class, I really want that to happen as well, but I may have to find another person to provide the instruction for that because it most likely will not fit into Mrs. Rothen's schedule.
So, Mr. Jordan, this is Jameen. So how, just as we're talking about the schedule then, how will that have any play on these kids that want band or choir? Is that, it's already an issue. I guess I didn't think about it till Carrie brought it up.
I don't think so, Jameen, because in the schedule, I've already put band and choir in there.
Okay.
And,
Thank you.
That 10th period offers us some great flexibility there. Again, we have it in the schedule this year with that Spider Learning. So I'm just switching it to lab. And now I just have to get with the teachers and define what that actually means and who we're going to put in there. But I intentionally moved band and choir a little bit so that those two things wouldn't interfere with one another.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so it's been moved and seconded and we've had our discussion. So I'll ask Tammy to do the roll call vote, please.
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jennifer Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, consideration to tentatively approve the request from John Irwin and the AC Valley Boys Baseball Team to begin the process of scheduling spring training in Florida for the spring of 2021 in order to get the discounted rates, barring any pandemics that may arise in the future. It is a requirement of this motion that travel insurance must be provided, or excuse me, purchased for this trip. So moved.
Second, Megan.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion about this?
Are we strictly just voting on Dewey, basically just starting the process, or does this in fact approve the trip? I know we wanted to have some discussions prior to, but.
So I guess, yes, in effect, I guess it is approving the trip tentatively based on these specific requirements. The reason that they're asking for it, and they always ask for it during this March or April every year, is because they get a discounted rate if they register for it early. So that's the reason that it's on the agenda now. We can certainly, table it until next month, and or in June. The only the effect of that would be that they would have to pay more for the registration. And to be honest, I'm not sure I know what that discount is. David's shaking his head no as well, that he doesn't know either.
Jen, one other issue with that too is those things fill up quite quickly. So I know that, Dewey, that's one thing that he really wants to try to avoid is having the particular people that they work with end up filling it up with other teams. So that's a concern of his as well.
Bill, I was wondering too, does this impact spring PSSA or Keystone testing next year? Do we have dates for the testing and for this particular trip?
He hasn't given me any dates, so I'm not sure on that, David.
Other discussions?
I think if we go ahead and approve this, we still need to continue following through with them on dates and making sure that all of the new policies are being followed, et cetera, since we've had such a lapse in time from when we talked about this last. As time gets away from everyone, as we all know.
Do we need to change any language in here, Jen, to add in, pending anything else?
We could have Dewey provide a monthly report to the school board as well. That could be something we could add to it, Terry.
That's a good idea to have them provide more regular reports to us. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And because this is to me, I'm sorry, as we discussed too, some of those games count towards the PIAA.
Mm-hmm.
What's the word I want? Score. Yeah. Anyway, so that would be something that we would need to continue discussing too, because I don't think we finished that discussion, but I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right, Jameen. I think that it does count towards their tracked games for PIAA, and I'm not sure we did finish that discussion totally.
This is Kelly. I don't think we did, and we also had some concern about the number of non-school students that were going on the trip.
Yes, you're right, and we need to address that as well.
Yes, so we do have some things that we need to continue addressing. But again, I understand why they want approval to at least start looking at it. But yeah, Carrie or Jen, if we could add some extra wording to that, that would be great. So we don't forget with everything else going on.
Okay, suggestions for that extra wording? Do you want to include something as to like a monthly, a required monthly report? Thoughts about that?
Maybe we should suggest in that we want to have a meeting with him to clarify some things initially, you know, we're going to approve it with the understanding that we're going to meet with him and we have some more stipulations that we want carried out for next year.
We can certainly do that. Anything else that we want to have included in that? Okay,
Oh, sorry, Jen, I was muted.
that's okay.
If you could make, if somebody could make a list of the questions we do have, the number of people that are going, you know, so we don't forget what questions we do want to ask.
Sure.
I didn't start taking notes and I should have.
Amy's taking notes on that. She'll
Okay,
add that to the letter.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Anything else, guys? All right, Tammy, will you take the roll call vote, please?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Bertel.
Yay.
Now, you don't want anything added to that motion, just to the letter that I'm going to send to him, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, federal programs report.
Hold on, Carrie. We have one more addition to this under the secondary report. Jameen, I think you were going to make one more motion there.
Yes, we need to make a motion to, under the secondary report, that something to the effect of consideration to approve end of year grades, class rank, including salutatorian and valedictorian, based off the first 3 quarters of the 2019-2020 school year due to the closure associated with COVID-19.
So
Second,
move. Okay, who is that second? Kelly?
Kelly.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Everybody's good with that? I think we've talked about that before. Any questions? All right, Tammy, will you make a
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Bertel.
Yay.
All right, motion carries. All right, Carrie, you can go on with your section.
Are we good with secondary report to move on? Then federal programs report.
I'll go ahead and take that, Carrie. This past week, ME was able to submit the quarterly financial reports through the e-grant system. We worked together on the PCCD grant and submitted our quarterly financial reports as well as the program reports. We were also notified that our PCCD grant went up to $30,000. And again, we use those grants to cover the cost of the police. Some long-term planning. I did, with the support of Jen and Kelly, submit the CEEG grant, and that's the Continuity of Education Planning Grant, to continue to integrate technology into the curriculum and support the distance learning program. We put into that grant 700 Chromebooks and the SIPA compliant software for a 3-year time frame. We also submitted a letter of agreement to the USDA Distance Learning and Telemedicine Capital Equipment Grant. What this grant does is provide the district with $25,000 for a telemedicine cart that the nurses could use at both buildings. And it's going to just build health capacity and services to our students. And I just mentioned earlier about that CARES Act. We haven't got a whole lot of information, but as soon as I do, I'll be sure to share that out to the school board. And that concludes the federal programs report, Carrie.
Okay. District report.
I'll just keep going. With the continuity of education plan that Bill and Lori spoke of earlier, that was definitely shared leadership. I'd really like to thank both principals, Jen Stover, Tim Dadich, and Jennifer Fight. We meet on a weekly basis. We created that plan. It was spearheaded by the building principals. I think they did a fantastic job working with their staff to get a plan up and running and get our students engaged. It was a very practical enrichment program that we put together. We'll continue to meet. I think that that could be changing if we do have continued closures in the fall. That continuity of ed plan may change from enrichment into planned instruction, and we're going to have to explore other concerns that we have associated with that. But what we've done so far has been absolutely fantastic. I'm also going to take a couple minutes to go down through Act 13 of 2020. And there's a number of questions that are posted and information shared. So I'm just going to take a few moments to read some of the questions. It should provide insight on the multiple layers of Act 13. Waivers for the 180 school day are not needed at this particular time. There was a question asked, is there any kind of consequences for us? Act 13, 2020 waived the school code requirements for the minimum 180-day school term. Schools will not be penalized for failing to meet that 180 days. Given the extended period of closure, schools are not required to adjust their calendars at this time, so we don't have to do anything. All schools in Pennsylvania are closed until the end of the academic year. This does not impact the students at all. What it does do is, it ensures that all education programs across the state develops and submits a continuity of education plan to the Department of Education, and we're able to educate most of the students in the most appropriate way. And we did that through a combination of paper and technology. How are schools expected to provide the continuity of education plan for the rest of the 1920 school year? We had two options. We could choose planned instruction, so that would be introducing new material. Students would be getting grades, we'd have attendance, and we'd be required to meet all the goals set forth for those students. Or we can do an enrichment program, which we are doing right now, to build upon prior learning. Due to the geographic location of the school district, we are concerned about meeting the needs of all our students, so we chose for the enrichment program. How are schools expected to provide continuity? I covered that one. It's been a long night. Who must submit the plans? All public education entities are required to submit it. Timelines for IDEA, reevaluation, IEPs, and reporting. We're to make every effort possible to continue on with those meetings through virtual meetings and teleconferences. Tim's been working very closely with his staff to continue on with that approach. They do Zoom meetings. They meet not only with families, they've had a few IEP meetings. A lot of them are extended because some of our families don't have the Zoom technology. If we can meet face-to-face or evaluations that need to be made face-to-face are on hold until further notice. There's some reevaluations that the school psychologist could do, but right now, Tim's spearheading that thing, and I do appreciate his efforts. Are non-public and private schools supposed to report a continuity of education plan? And the answer is no. Moving into the educator evaluation. So all teachers are required through Act 82 of 2012 to be evaluated utilizing building level data. School entities remain responsible for completing the professional evaluations, but the student performance and building level data will not be available. So the evaluations will be based solely on observation and practice. Graduation requirements. Can current seniors still graduate from the 1920 school year? Yes. No students will be restricted from completing their high school graduation due to the pandemic closure. What academic requirements will be required for the current seniors? Establishing and calculating credits for coursework is the responsibility of each LEA. So that's what Jameen did earlier with her motion. So we support the students and the first 3 quarters. Can the career and technical students still be approved for graduation if they're unable to take the NOCTI or the NIMS industry-based competency assessment? And the answer is yes. We weren't able to provide that to our students up there. We're working on an enrichment program to meet the needs of some students, but that's not the case. With that being said, students still can graduate and not have an impact on their career and technical education. Should schools hold high school graduation ceremonies and traditional end-of-year activities? Schools may hold virtual high school graduation meetings and other traditional end-of-year ceremonies during the COVID-19 closure. The safety and security of all students are most important. So currently, right now, we have restrictions of no more than 10 people gathered in one area. So I know we'll continue to talk about prom, graduation, National Honor Society induction, whatnot. But right now, we're not able to do anything since we aren't graduating until the first week of June. I encourage the board to hold off until we get more information, and hopefully, the pandemic will be lessening. School employees, Act 13, 2020 provides basis for fiscal stabilization. No employees of any school entity who was employed before March 13, 2020 shall receive more or less compensation than the employees would otherwise have been entitled. Professional development. Every 5 years, teachers have to come up with 180 Act 48 hours and administrators need 180 Act 45 hours. There's been a 1-year moratorium on that. So we in essence have 6 years to complete those requirements. What staff are essential? And because this is new to all of us, so we've had a lot of questions and concerns about who's essential. And basically it's the administration, food prep, housing, informational technology, building maintenance, and operations. So we do have a skeleton crew here at the district. And I would like to thank Mark and Emmy and all the staff that are working on a regular basis, because there's still a lot of work that still needs to be done. As I finish off, transportation, how will subsidy payments be contracted for pupil transportation services? Act 13 provides a basis for fiscal stabilization for school entities, school employees, and the pupil transportation services. Under Act 13, PD will pay pupil transportation subsidies. So the school board elected to continue on paying our transportation contractors, just as Act 13 of 2020 states. We're paying them in full. And as I finish off tonight, I did reach out to Dave Staub about doing an article on our seniors. And we're going to continue on with that discussion with him. And I've already gathered information. I know the board's going to do a few things too, but our heart here at AC Valley breaks for those seniors. So we're doing whatever we can. So we thought a picture, a few questions, and just to give them a little bit of notoriety would be very beneficial at this time. And Carrie, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, David. Moving on, consideration to approve the agreement between Allegheny Clarion Valley School District and Key Solution Educational Staffing, LLC for the period beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending on June 30th, 2021 as attached. So moved.
Diane will second it.
Great. So this has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Just to keep in mind, this first one is the approval for the special ed director. Okay. Tammy, will you call the roll?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right, motion carries. Thank you all.
Consideration to approve the agreement between Allegheny Clarion Valley School District and Key Solution Staffing, LLC dated April 20th, 2020 as attached. So moved.
Seconded by Mark Vertel.
Great, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Keep in mind, this is the one for school psychologist services if we need that. And our intent is next month to bring the school psychologist to have that on the board to vote, the agenda to vote on. So the intent is to have the full-time psychologist on the agenda for next month. But this is just the backup in case we need it. All right, Tammy, will you call the vote?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jennifer Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Janine Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Bertel.
Yay.
Great, motion carries.
Okay, consideration to approve the redevelopment assistance capital program resolution supporting Governor Tom Wolf's proposal to expand the redevelopment assistance capital program to remediate contaminants in schools as attached. So moved.
Kelly Terwilliger, second.
Great, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, Tammy, will you call?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jennifer Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Janine Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
and Mark Bertel.
Yay.
Great, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, and then our final item under D is the school police report.
Okay, how's everyone doing? I hope you can hear me okay. As you know, for the last few weeks, we have not been in the school. We certainly miss everybody, and especially the students. It's a sad time, and hopefully we can get through this quicker, sooner than later. But in the meantime, we have been busy with a parent-student reunification plan that was tasked to us from the superintendent, and it's coming right along. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is or not. Pretty much, it's a plan that would safely and orderly get the kids back home with their parents. Usually, that's utilized in the event of an evacuation of the school buildings. We're pretty fortunate here because we have the buildings so close to each other. So if something were to happen at the high school, those students can come to the elementary and vice versa. In the very, very unlikely situation that would occur where the property would become uninhabitable, I mean, maybe for a tornado where it would take out both buildings, we have a plan in place. We're working on a plan that the students can be moved from the district buildings to an off-campus location to get reunified with mom and dad, and that's coming along really well too. Does anybody have any questions before I move on from that as to what that reunification plan is? Okay, so we have 3 locations off campus that we're working on. I don't know if that's really the format or right now to be putting that out there, especially since we're on a public format. If maybe next month we can talk about where those 3 locations are, and then maybe that can be disseminated to the parents, because obviously they're going to need to know where those locations are in the event we need to use those. But we're moving right along with that, and we look forward to having training with the staff when we get back. Obviously, this all is relying on what the governor wants to do, and we can do it in a safe manner. So we're looking at probably like an Act 80 day when we can do some training for the staff here at the elementary and staff at the high school. So on that, I'll take any questions if you have any. Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, moving right along. Policy. Jameen, would you go through policy, please?
Sure. Sorry, I turned my video off. I was having internet issues.
That's okay.
Policy A, consideration to approve the second reading of policy number 209.1 head lice. So moved.
Second, Kelly.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. Tammy, will you call the roll?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Janine Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right. Motion carries.
Okay, item B, consideration to approve the first reading of policy number 121, copy of field trips. So moved.
Second.
That was Mark.
Yep.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? And remember, I think the only change to this is that there needs to be trip insurance purchased when there's going to be major travel involved or overnight travel involved. All right, Tammy, will you call for the vote?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Janine Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right, motion carries.
Okay, item C, consideration to approve the IU6 local LEA application, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, dated April 3rd, 2020, as attached. So moved.
Second, Diane.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, Tammy, will you call the vote?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Janine Stump,
Yes.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right, motion carries. So we're going to move along. Mr. Milford, will you give your report, please? Hold on, you're not unmuted. Aaron, Aaron's going to help him get unmuted.
All right. First of all, it's been not having the custodians here for a few weeks we've been out. It's been pretty bad. The maintenance staff, we've been running, taking turns being here, so we're not all three here at the same time. The custodians, we have taking turns coming in Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to clean the office areas, the district entrances, the main entrance at both schools. They've been doing a great job. Coming up for the summer, I'm not sure how we're going to prepare for that with the schools being closed for the summer and summer cleaning. So we'll have to, we hear more information from Harrisburg. We'll have to get into that, how we're going to do it with student workers or what we're doing. That's still a lot of unknowns we have for that. And it's going to shorten our summer. I don't know if we're talking about the district needs or not, Mr. McDivitt. Yeah. With some of the list that you guys have on the district needs, those are some of the things that we have wrote down: the parking lot repairs, the high school cafeteria floor, the track resurfacing, the high school auditorium, elementary HVAC controls and boiler replacement, large area mower, and extra van or SUV. Those are some of the things that we need in the district. Every year we go over our needs. I give that to Mr. McDivitt. He shares it with the school board. The parking lots, I got a bid on that from a company. That was for everything from the high school down through the elementary, all the parking lots at the elementary school, the student parking lot at the high school, back to the maintenance garage, and everything down from here. Nothing up from the high school parking lot up and then in the back. Those prices are estimated on that sheet. That is on my list is the number one thing that we need to do. My number two is the large area mower. It takes a lot of time for us to mow the 50 acres, and doing with a 6-foot cut mower. Getting a large area mower would cut that time down tremendously. And the high school auditorium obviously is in dire need of renovation. We weren't sure some of those projects, how we'd get done with the McClure project, and we decided not to do that part of it. And the elementary HVAC controls, we also pulled off the McClure project. Those are areas that we need to address sometime in the near future. The high school cafeteria floor, if we get the grant that the governor's talking about, that could possibly be covered under that. We have a lot of flooring at the high school, could possibly be covered under that. The track we are working on now, Mr. Dr. Tulio is getting that in the process. And then the extra van or the SUV, that's been in the talk for the last couple of years. Some days we are, in the wintertime especially, we have our trucks with the snow plows on, and it's they use the vehicles a lot for getting kids to school. With the snow plows on, it's difficult for them to use. They can't take the one truck off property. It's too heavy and big to take off. That's my report.
Mark, what was the bid that you got for the parking lot? Did you have a number for it?
Yeah, the one bid was 65,000, but that was not that was non-scale union scale wages on that. So you'd have to increase that for prevailing wage.
Just keep in mind that we've taken care of the parking lot several times over the years, and it's something that does need work. And I don't know who's been in the parking lot recently, but if you walk across and you see some of the cracks and the way they continue to expand, the further we push that project out, the more cost it'll be and the more of the renovations. And working on the budget, we didn't add it in there, but since Mark reviewed his list, I would like to have a discussion with the board right now to see if that's something we want to consider. And I'm not even sure if we could do it this summer, if it'd be next summer, with the lateness of the bidding process and such.
Okay, folks, any thoughts about that?
So none of that's been added to the budget you just presented, correct?
That's correct, Kelly.
I guess, I don't know. I don't know where we're going to find the funding. That's the problem.
We always there's always things we put on the needs of the district that Mr. McDivitt and that we usually have every year, the list of, and unfortunately these things just keep getting kicked down the road. And it's not, saying we have to do it now. It's obviously, but just we have to remember that these are going to be here tomorrow. They're going to be here next year. It's it's something that's still going to be here.
This is Diane, and like you said, the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost because it's going to keep getting worse. Just my opinion.
This is Mark. I'm just not sure where we're going to find it. I agree with Kelly.
And I know, and this list, I've it's just the timing tonight's bad on it. It's been in the works for several months, and it always is in the budget time of the year. Whenever we go over this, we always go over the needs of the district, and unfortunately, the budget's always, it's fact of life. This is why it's still here. And it may still be here next year, and it's going to be here the year after that. It's just that someday we are going to have to, we tackled the with the McClure project last year, 2 years ago. That was an awesome project we did. And this stuff, maybe something we could add to a project like that, but it's something that's, it's going to have to be done sometime.
Mark, are there any safety concerns right now in terms of the parking lot?
Not right now. If there was something developed, we'd have to take care of it. There's no trip hazard really per se right now that we'd have to deal with. It's just the cost of it, and every year you don't do it, it's going to be more money that's going to cost you. Right now it's, tar and chip is what it is. And other than that, it's going to be a complete replacement of blacktop.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. The longer we wait, the more expensive it gets. But also looking at the budget, it's where do we get that? I think that, maybe we keep this on the list. We keep thinking about this in terms of next month when we have more information, and into June when we have more information, especially about if we do get money down from the federal government and what that looks like. So if we can continue to talk about like the top 3 over the next couple of months and just keep, bringing that back to us and seeing where we are with that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, home stretch, guys. Transportation, we don't have anything this evening, correct? Okay. Career Center report. Somebody want to just, you guys did not have a meeting in March, and so you'll be having a meeting next week, is that correct? Okay. All right. IU report. Lena, you talk about that real quick?
No meeting. We haven't had a meeting since I think December. We will be having a meeting on Wednesday evening. Some of us will be doing it via Zoom and others will be in the boardroom. I am taking part via Zoom. I think it starts at 6 o'clock. So once I get that information, I will let you guys know if there's any updates for next month.
Great, thank you. No correspondence. Kelly, you want to talk about tech real quick?
We have not had a tech meeting, but I can give you an update on what's been happening with the computers for students at home. Let me look at my list here. I wrote it down. There's almost 200 computers that Jeff has assigned out to students. They picked them up, and they all have the security software on them so that we can monitor what's happening with those. And we also, David had mentioned that we wrote the grant as to get 700 print books for students to support us with the distance learning. Now, I don't know, there wasn't any date anywhere I saw, David. Did you, when that might be announced?
It was supposed to be announced Friday night, but it's on hold right now because probably the number of applications they've received.
Okay. So, I mean, that's basically the tech update, Jen.
Thanks, Kelly. I appreciate it. I was just amazed at the number of computers that were asked for from families. So that's great.
There was I had 201 were given to students.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that there were, that were assigned. And I think that Bill said there are still a couple to go out. And so I just made myself a note. We had talked about it before and it kind of slipped my mind that we're going to schedule a tech meeting via Zoom because we do need to talk about how we get those devices back and, you know, what we're going to do with that. So, because there'll be work to do on them when they come back.
And a question that I have for David, maybe we can talk about it next month, is since we are by force ended up doing distance learning and we're using Google Classroom, would it be possible next year that we could apply for the snow days that we could cover those with distance learning?
Yeah, I think that's a real option right now, Kelly. I like the idea. The application is not out yet. I pulled up an application, but it's still for the 2019-20 school year. And since we're closed, there's no sense working on it. But I'd agree with you on that.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Kelly. There's no old business, I don't think. We do have two items under new business. The first one is a letter that we received from one of our staff members, Antoinette Klein. And Tony had originally asked for some time off starting May the 4th because she was going to have surgery. Her doctor, because of the pandemic, said that that surgery had to be pushed back, and it's postponed now until sometime in June, although she doesn't have any dates confirmed. She would like to, I guess, have this letter rescinded, asking for the time off so that she could be paid the same as everybody else. So I'd like to have some discussion about that and make a motion if anybody wants to talk about that. Are we okay with doing that? Anybody have any objections?
This is
can make-
Diane. I'm okay with it. I don't
This
blame
is-
her. I'd want to do that too.
This is Lena. I'm fine with it.
This is Jameen. I'm fine with it.
All right, so let's have somebody make an official motion that we, how do we want to say this, Tam, that we are going to rescind her time off.
Accept her request to have her time off rescinded?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yes. Okay, so Jameen, is that going to be an official?
Yes, I make a motion that we accept Antoinette Klein's letter to rescind her letter for time off. How did I word that before?
We'll get it.
Okay, I make the motion.
Second by Mark.
Second by Mark. All right. Any other discussion? Okay, great. Tam, can you do the roll call vote, please?
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yeah.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Jameen Stump,
Yes.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yes.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
Great. Motion carries. I'm sure that Tony will be very happy about that. Now, the last thing that we had on here for new business is the food program. So we want to have some more discussion. We want to make any motions in terms of doing a food program.
I'd like to make the motion that we do the food program. Can I do that now, or do you want to discuss it first?
Nope, we can make the motion. Anybody
Okay.
second?
I'll second it, Diane.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Jen, how does that work with staff?
Well, that's going to be something that we'll need to take a look at because our staff right now are 180 days. And so I think would be okay doing the program through June 30th. But if it goes any further through the summer, then that's going to be where we're going to run into our issue that we're going to have to revise that contract so that those staff can work June or July and August to continue to provide that.
Is that additional payroll covered in the additional monies that we would get for that?
Grant's still on. I think that'll cover the cost of the food, but it doesn't have anything to do with the payroll. But Grant, can you confirm that?
Yeah, so when we start the program, what we'll do is we'll receive, like I said, the free rate for every child, regardless of what their classification would be through the district. So every child is served and they are, we're recording them at the free rate. So it would give us $5.29 a day per child that we serve. It will cover the cost of food, but it definitely wouldn't cover salaries or wages.
But
Thank
as
you.
it stands right now, we're paying those employees one way or the other, so it won't cost anything additional unless we go after June 30th, like Jen said.
That's correct. And we would just have to pick a date, like speaking with the other districts as to when they're ending their program, because the seamless summer option and summer food service program is originally for districts that have summer education. So they've branched this off of that. So we can pick the date as to when we would like to end this. So, if we wanted to end it June 5th, when school would end, if we wanted to go through June 30th, if we want to do daily pickup, we would just have to make those decisions. And then I would just need to get in and go ahead and get the trucks and everything coordinated and just get a letter out to the district so they knew that we were starting it.
Maybe I'm not understanding this correctly. Grant, you can kind of clarify this, or David. The hourly employees in the district, which the food service workers would be hourly employees, we're currently paying them through the end of what our school calendar year would be, like June 5th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so if they're working
Wait a
past,
minute, I think it's through June 30th, isn't it? Well, I mean, I guess it would be June 5th because that's when.
we would typically be
Okay.
ending salary. So if we pay them past June 5th, for the summer, that would be an additional payroll expense, correct?
That's a good question, Terry. The only stipulation is, this time off for COVID. People are still getting paid one way or the other, but I'm not sure if those are counted days. We may have some additional days that we could work into June, but I'll have to get clarification on that before, I just need more information on that. There's some unknowns with that Act 13 of 2020, but good question.
Can we say in our motion that we're just going to go through June 5th of this year?
I was going to say the same thing, at least through June 5th, unless we can find additional funding to pay them through June 30th. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind that I'm fine with that. Just keep in mind that it's going to take Grant about 2 weeks, he said, in order to get this going. So then we're looking at the first week of May, right? Mm-hmm. And so that'll be about a month of providing that. So just so that you kind of have that clear in your minds.
We wouldn't be providing it past June 5th if school wasn't in session anyway. So that's when it would normally stop anyway.
Correct.
And so unless we can find money to take it through June 30th, but I mean, the only way it would have been extended past June 5th anyway was if we had to add snow days or anything else. So, but I think a minimum through June 5th, we should at least try that right now.
Yeah, because if you're going to look at bus drivers taking stuff around, their contracts end June 5th, what we're paying them, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and all this food would have to be picked up at the school because we would have to put a HACCP plan in place for all foods that leave the district. So we would have to make a HACCP plan through the Nutrition Institute, saying like once they pick foods up, like how they're supposed to handle those foods, where they're supposed to go. And they have to be picked up by parents, and the amount of kids that are in those vehicles is how many meals we're allowed to provide. So if one parent comes with 4 children, we can put 4 meals in that vehicle.
So we can't deliver, like if we decide we want to volunteer to deliver meals?
I would have to look into that and get you a solid answer. But the district that I have been speaking with, the tracking process is done at the school. It has to be picked up at the school so that it can be tracked properly for proper reimbursement.
Okay, I know other schools are delivering, so.
Yeah, and I don't know if they got a waiver for that. And I don't know if they're taking them, are they taking them to homes or if they're taking them to alternate sites? But I know that
homes. They're taking some to the home.
Okay. Yeah, so I can look into that for sure and get a definite answer because I don't want to give a yes or no because the districts that I'm corresponding with are having them picked up at their location. So they've, like I know Brookville has one specific location, Clarion has one. I know I've spoke to Karn City. Corey said that he was having them picked up there as well. So I know Montauk, they're picking theirs up. Some are doing 2 days a week, some are doing 3. From what they've told me, it's easiest to do it every day because you get a better number and you have less waste. So whatever you folks are ready to do, I mean, we're ready to.
I was going to say, I know Carson City is delivering because I know teachers have volunteered to take them to the houses. So they're doing both, I think.
Okay, well, let me get some like definite clarification on that so I know how they're tracking those meals for reimbursement, and then I can send you all an email because we're gonna have my truck would have been due today at noon, so I'm not going to be able to do a US Foods order until next Tuesday. We won't be able to get milk in until next Monday, so it'll give me about, and by the time the truck comes in on Tuesday, we'll be able to fire this up Wednesday if everybody's good with that of next week. Or not next week, the following week.
And Grant, I'd suggest we do it every day as well.
Yeah, a lot of them said it's too much, where they're giving so much food at one time, they can't guarantee that it's being eaten on the days that it's supposed to be eaten. So I don't mind doing it every day. I mean, it would only be a few hours. We would come in, we would get those meals prepared and ready to go, prep for the following day. So we would have to be there a very limited amount of time.
The only reason I was asking about delivery, I just think we'd meet more kids' needs if we could take it out. You know, like even if it's a location in each part of the district.
Oh, absolutely. And I do agree with that. I just need to figure out how they're doing that just so that I make sure that we track it properly.
And
So,
maybe it's something, Grant, that where a staff person could be on the bus with them to kind of, you know, notate what those numbers are, but definitely, you know, look into it. And what we can say is that, you know, we can do this program, and, you know, that we'll figure out the delivery method, whatever that is, pick up, delivery, whatever, you know, we'll work that out in the time that Grant's going to be waiting for the food to get here for the first meals to roll out. So
I just want to add to that the bus driver contracts are through June 30th, not June 5th.
Okay.
We don't write them for the last day of school just in case there are snow days or extensions for some reason. So they are through June 30th.
Great.
So they get paid through June 30th.
Emmy would have to answer exactly how they get paid, but
okay.
I was just gonna say, I would be hesitant in even doing this program if we can't deliver, because I feel like there's gonna be a large gap in people who are able to actually get to the school to pick up the food without it being delivered, and it probably be a waste.
Yeah, and even if it isn't delivered actually to every home, but like, let's say for West Freedom, if we make the West Freedom Fire Hall a pickup point.
Right.
X number of meals will be there and they can come get them.
the bus drivers are willing to deliver if we decide to go that route. Every contractor said they were willing.
Okay.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, we have some pretty rural kids that, you know, there aren't fire halls around where they live. So the buses would be a good idea.
I should add van contractors as well, not just bus.
Great. That's good to
So
know.
this brings up I guess, never mind, it's probably a moot point. I was just thinking about our non-pub kids. They wouldn't qualify, right?
Our non-public, that's correct.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't fill out a free reduced meal application or have the opportunity to do that inside the district, so we wouldn't be able to account for them.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion?
So would you guys like me to get a survey sent out to see how many families are interested in, you know, see what our response is with pickup at the district and go from there? And then see if we want to involve the transportation contractors, or, I mean, what direction would you guys like me to start with first?
I'm thinking if you send out a survey and give them the option, everybody's going to want to deliver it at home anyways, because it's a lot easier.
Yeah, true.
You know,
it might delay the process, you know, that it takes a while to get that information gathered. You know, if we want to get this up and running, you know, I hate to delay our timetable.
Maybe we could just put an announcement on the website or something. saying that these meals are going to be available at such and such a date.
Yeah, I think once we have, if we vote to do this, then I think that probably David will send out a message over the phone system, because that I think tends to reach the most. But then also, you know, like we've been doing with everything else, put it on the website and the Facebook page. Okay, any other discussion?
Can I just make sure that the motion is to do a food program through June 5th, unless additional funding is made available from the government to extend this till June 30th, 2020? Is that what you want the motion to say?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Are
Could
you
I-
good with that, Jameen?
Yes, but could I make a suggestion to Grant?
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely.
Maybe, you know, just a suggestion, maybe have the first meals picked up at the school, and then you could ask them or have them fill out a survey then if they would prefer coming to the school or having it delivered. I don't know, maybe some type of thing like that. And because I understand Carrie's concern not to waste, you know, to get this going as quickly as possible. Would it be easier to just put a thing out, hey, come, we're going to start serving food, come this day, and then talk to them while they're there, maybe?
I still think
Yeah.
transportation for some people is going to be an issue. And even if they don't have necessarily a transportation, you know, if they have transportation, there are still a lot of people working. So, you know, being available during the day for those pickups, I don't know. I'm kind of with Megan on this, that I feel like having more than one location that may be geographically closer to their residents. That's just the way I'm leaning.
I mean, kind of like how all the restaurants right now are located within the towns. It's easier for the kids to get to them.
Right, but how do we arbitrarily decide those things without some input from the parents, unless we would just say those will be the pickup places, will be those restaurants?
Or we just say that we're going to if the bus drivers are willing to do it, we're paying the bus drivers now,
Go to everybody's house,
whoever signs up.
so the bus
Yes.
that would do the route would know where those people live. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're saying is that the buses would then come to the bus stops in like Emlenton, for example, at a certain time for those kids.
Right, and they pick up their meals right there. For
So, yeah.
anybody who's already signed up, you couldn't just walk up and get one. You'd have to have a letter, application, whatever Grant needs, and be registered.
True, but it would still be nice to have a little bit of direction from the parents. You know, would they prefer, they wouldn't maybe be available at home, so how do you leave them? Maybe if there was one pickup point, because like somebody said, Grant said, if there's one parent with 4 or 5 kids in the car, maybe they would have other people driving their kids for them or something.
Look
And
at buses that would be at each stop.
right, but what I'm saying is maybe the people wouldn't be able to be there to pick them up at the stop. So
I think you're probably going to find that with any scenario.
yeah, to me, that's what I'm saying. Maybe ask them for centralized pickup points in their area, not going directly to their houses. But that would be information that you would have. Somebody's going to have to ask the parents at some point in time.
And we can, you know, we could certainly look at, you know, the drop off points, because we don't go to kids' houses right now. We have centralized drop off points. Like I think we have 2 or 3 in St. Pete, you know.
Did anybody ever find out from the businesses that are doing the meals how many kids are getting them? I'm just curious.
Yeah, Grant has that information. Grant.
Yeah, so I've been working with them because I wanted to see how they were doing through this, like if they wanted us to start a program or take this out of their hands. And they said that they were going to continue to provide free meals to these kids through the COVID-19 pandemic. All 4 of them got back to me and said that they said that they enjoy working with the kids. Little It's been really good with saying that, you know, the kids and the parents have been very sweet. Tracy Daly and I have been sharing their menus. So Little It's been doing between 20 and 30. The girl's been doing 20 to 30. And then Bob's Place and Welter's has been doing between 10 and 15 a day.
where was the other one? Was it the Allegheny Grill?
Yeah, the grill's doing between 20 and 30 a day.
Okay.
Um,
Little Wit's doing
that-
between 20 and 30?
a day. And then Welter's and Bob's Place are both doing between 10 and 15 a day.
Oh, wow.
So my question is this, if we do this program, and I know everybody wants to do this program, we already gave funding to have this program done from the backpack program from Clarion University to these places. Are we gonna ask for reimbursement?
No, we can't. That money's gone. Like we donated, what we did was we figured out what the reimbursement rate was for every child. And we dispersed those funds through equally based off their participation rate to help them get through April and May. Because they gave me a roundabout number of what they needed a day to operate. So we split that money up and gave it to them to continue to
Okay.
provide meals to the kids.
So they are intending to continue this service. We are going to also continue this service. Correct?
Well,
Like, we're gonna
if we-
start it. If we
If we
start.
started, correct.
So we're paying that, we've donated money to them to help them with this from April into the end of May. If we were gonna stop at June 5th. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do know what you're saying, Lena. So, in terms of, is this kind of like, we've given money.
redundant?
Yeah, like, yes, that's exactly the right word, redundant, for us to do it versus, having our local places do this. And one of the things that I did ask Grant was, are the businesses, does this help them? Does this help bring in business for them by providing a free meal to the kids, and maybe, a parent then purchases a meal. And so, so that's one thing to take into consideration as well. And I think no matter what we decide here tonight, the board needs to send huge thank yous to these 4 businesses for everything they've done so far. And I just want to make sure that not only are we covering our kids, but we're paying attention to these businesses that have helped us over the past 6 weeks as well.
Could I
Yes,
just?
I did. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if I understand what Lena's saying about it being redundant, could we maybe say to those businesses, we'll take it off your hands a little bit for the month of May, because if they're planning to continue it beyond the end of school, is that what you're saying, Grant?
Well, what I did was, because I kind of asked them if this was helping them, hurting them. I just sent like a generalized message out that we were having our meeting today, that we were going to be discussing the food service program, and if there was anything that we need to do for them, if, what we could do. And they just said, it was just like, we just need help with milk donations, but that they had already planned to continue this through May. And then White's and Bob's Place both said that they have already planned to do this through May with the amount of kids that they're doing and the participation they're getting. And I just don't want to put them in a position now to where they've planned for this and we exhausted backpack funds. And if we start the program, if it's going to affect them, I don't know.
Well,
Because I asked them if there's.
Could they put those funds then towards covering the month of June, which we wouldn't be doing?
I don't know. I mean, if they've already exhausted them for May and have planned to use them for May, I don't know, because we didn't give strict stipulations on the funds. It was just when we decided to donate that money out, it was to help them get through when they said they were going to plan meals through, which at that time they said they were going to continue through May.
I'm just throwing this out here, and Grant, you can give me some feedback. If we do want to give them lunch, could those businesses, because they are open later, maybe provide a free, whatever they would have given them for lunch, give it to them at dinner time, and that way they're really getting, 3 meals a day?
Like we can do, like if we do this program, we'll have to provide breakfast and lunch. But I think the reason that they were targeting lunch was because it's a cheaper price point and they were able to get kids down there if their parents were working. When we started originally working in conjunction with them, was a place the kids could go to get lunch, while parents that were continuing to work through COVID-19, they could get something to eat, because parents for the parents that were home at night, was kind of our whole thought process when we started work. Tracy Daly and I started working with them. But the other thing that we also have is we have about 500 plus meals that Backpacks for Success needs to exhaust that we need to get rid of as well. We have a parent representative through Backpacks for Success, and what Tracy Daly has in inventory and what's being held in Turkey City that we need to get out to these families before the end of the school year.
So can that be distributed with the lunches and the buses? And this may be a dumb idea, but can we use our busing and let the restaurants still provide the lunches, but we use our busing system to get them out there? Or instead of us getting everybody to the school to start creating meals, if the restaurants are already doing it?
Yeah, we were talking about doing it on Fridays, doing a pickup at the school on Fridays, because the restaurants are doing it Monday through Friday, having them come and pick up the normal backpack program that we had before. They come and pick up to get foods, it's like snacks and fruits and mini meals to get them through Saturday and Sunday. And our parent representative through Backpacks was going to get me a number of how many meals we had so we could get those distributed to the kids that were on the backpack program.
It sounds to me like if we try to start this program, it's going to cause more confusion because these kids already know where to go now. Then you're all of a sudden going to have to make them change what they're doing.
That's a good point.
Maybe what else we do is for these meals that have to be given out from the backpack program, maybe we provide those to the restaurants, to utilize, in June, after that money from the backpack programs is, tentatively gone.
Yes, because the funds that we receive from Clarion University, which I have to get with Aaron with, because I wanted to wait till we were done with the school board meeting, we have to put a thank you on the webpage to Clarion University and then what the funds were exhausted for. So, we're going to have to put a thank you out to Clarion University for the $5,000 donation to Backpacks for Success, and then what the money was donated for. That was one of the stipulations with receiving the check. So we will have to do that as well.
I think it's just hard for us not to offer free food now that we have the opportunity to do so. I'm not sure that money from the backpack program is going to last forever for those restaurants either.
I just wish that there was a way that we could wait until the end of May to do it when that money that we gave to the backpack program the backpack money you know what I'm trying to say, the restaurants exhaust that backpack money would be, at the end of May. And if there was a way we could do our program starting in June, but I don't know that that's necessarily doable.
Yes, because I know like Clarion and Brookville, just as an example, because I've been trying to figure out when people are going to start and end programs. A lot of them are ending theirs during the educational year because they said that's typically when they would be done if they were a seamless summer option or a summer food service facility. So, we would just have to decide when we want to end. But I know Tracy Daly and I have quite a bit of backpack food that we do need to get dispersed out that we can't realistically use in the cafeteria because we can't use donated foods to turn around and receive federal and state reimbursement for. So we would have to either give that out as either an extra or work in conjunction with these restaurants and get that sent out to these kids. So, we have several options.
Sorry.
So if we would do, I'm sure the restaurants have a list of the people that are coming into them. Could we do our program, but indicate that we will do students who are not already currently receiving meals from the local restaurants so we don't step on their toes?
No, we have to provide it to every kid so they can go down there and get a meal and then come up and get a meal off of us.
So what about, okay, 2 questions I have. First question is, I know you would want to do the food every day. But in order for us to do it and to keep them doing it, is there any way that, for instance, the restaurants could do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do Tuesday, Thursday, or vice versa, and do it through the end of June? That way, everybody is doing something through the end of June. That's my first question. My second question is there any way to utilize the backpack program food with the first program kids? That was
Okay, so if we provide meals Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have to provide 3 components at breakfast and 5 components at lunch for all 5 days of the week. So whether we're in the district Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we're giving meals out those 3 days to cover, we have to cover the entire week. And we would have to give them enough on Friday to cover breakfast on Monday. So, I mean, we could tell them that we were doing it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but we're going to be giving them enough food to get from Monday lunch to Monday breakfast throughout the week.
I just thought maybe we could spread it out so that it lasted all of May and June, so that we had enough food to do both months, and the restaurants were able to do May and June. Okay, but I see what you're saying. Okay, then as far as, can we do anything with the first program for like,
I can double check with Tracy Daly on that, because I don't know how backpacks and first has worked in the past, or if any of those kids are currently on backpacks. So I'll have to double check with her. I mean, I don't think that it would be an issue, but I can't give you a definite answer on that. That would be a really good Tracy Daly question that I'll get an answer for you for.
it's just something, because that's a group of kids that maybe aren't in the school and maybe aren't getting the, getting food, but could use it if you have to get rid of it, so to speak. And if they're already getting so much food from the other places, maybe those families could use that.
I just did a quick calculation. We've been out of school 27 days, and if we have roughly 20 kids a day showing up at one of those restaurants, and a rough estimate of $5 per meal, it would cost that restaurant $2,700. So I don't think they're going to be making a bunch of money from our donations. It could be just covering that cost of what we've already provided to the students. Just a thought as far as that goes, and it's just some rough numbers.
Well, maybe Grant could contact them and see how much of that funding they've used, and if they've used it all, then it's a moot point.
Yeah, I asked them if they received the donations, and I said, just want to make sure you did receive that. And they all said yes. And I did ask them if there was anything else, because we can continue to donate funds to them through backpacks, because we do have quite a bit of funds in there. And we're actually planning on receiving another donation from Sunnyborn, because they said whenever they're ready, whenever we're ready to let them know. And they all told me no. The only thing that Little It said they were having an issue with was getting milk. So I was looking in the Turner's Dairy for her to be able to get a drop there for milk, but none of them gave me as if like they needed anything from us. So they said, thank you. They said that I thanked them tremendously for what they were doing. So they didn't say yes or no. But I do know that we do have money in backpacks to donate out, and we're looking for another donation from Sunnyborn. And they said whenever that we were ready for that to let them know, because they do provide quite a bit of funding for us.
So I don't know, maybe we need to have a conversation with the restaurants and say, listen, here's what we're thinking about doing. Is this going to interfere with what you're already doing? Or, maybe a conversation with them would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I can send, sorry.
That's okay, sorry. My concern is there are kids out in rural areas that are not able to even get to the restaurants to get this free food. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I do agree with you in terms of the kids out in the rural areas. So maybe we do need to do that in terms of delivery wise, to run the program and do it delivery wise through the end of the school year. And then, then families have a couple of options.
And if they go both places, they go both places. I mean, it's not going to cost us anymore.
Right. What are other people's thoughts?
This is Jameen. I think we should reach out to the people that may not have vehicles or a way to get anywhere, because that does happen a lot. There are a lot of kids that if they miss the bus to get to school, they don't get to school. So if we could find a way to deliver, that would be great.
Okay. So the motion on the floor right now is to do the program for breakfast and lunch from the time that Grant can start it, gets everything in through the end of, or through June 5th. And further, if we can find funding to do so to pay staff members. And so, you know, we've had a lot of discussion, and I think that the discussion has kind of led to, we would really like to do this, especially for those that are out in rural, much more rural areas that can't get to one of the 4 sites that have been doing it so far. So we would like to do that via delivery through the bus or van contractors. So I guess that's where we're at right now. I feel like we probably need to just take a vote on this and see where we're at. So I'm going to ask Tammy to call the roll. And yes, you're in favor of doing it through June 5th, longer if we can find funding using a delivery method.
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yay.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Janine Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
Mark Vertel.
Yay.
All right. Motion carries. So Grant, if you can start to work on that, that would be fantastic. And, you know, coordinate with Lori as to how the transportation piece can work, and, you know, figure out about getting the counts right and things like that. So anything else at this particular point? Good Lord, this is the longest damn meeting the longest meeting we've had in a long time. All right.
America.
So we need to actually take an adjournment vote if there's nothing else. Anybody else have anything?
I just want to know if Lena's drinking because her picture hasn't been on here for an hour and a half.
No, I have a migraine, so my eyes are shut.
Okay, yeah, right, Lena. You're blinking.
I was eating cereals.
Yeah, right, uh-huh.
All right. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, Megan.
Megan seconded. Roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Oh my.
Carrie Armagost,
Yay.
Megan Dreher,
Yay.
Jen Fight,
Yahoo.
Diane Page,
Yay.
Corey Sherman,
Yay.
Lena Southworth,
Yay.
Janine Stump,
Yay.
Kelly Terwilliger,
Yay.
and Mark Vertel.
Yay.
I cannot thank you all enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good job, team.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good week.
Have a good night.
Good night.